Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. I, Gojo Satoru, become Uchiha Itachi younger brother. Chapter 41. If you want to achieve the corresponding desire, you must pay the corresponding price. Wu Jiaowu's expression suddenly darkened, and his temperament also changed dramatically. So, sharp and suppressed gazes suddenly fell on Sasuke and Naruto. The arrogant aura also followed. So, Sasuke and Naruto's faces became more serious under this overwhelming sense of oppression. They swallowed silently. So what will they pay? The atmosphere became more and more solemn and deep, as if a fully drawn bow might break at any time. So, let's use ramen to decide whether to win or lose. Wu Jiaowu said with a serious look. The broken hair on his head was swaying in the wind, and he seemed to be nodding in cooperation. What? That's it. Sasuke and Naruto didn't get out of the atmosphere just now, and suddenly got this reply. Ramen, a contest? Sasuke asked hesitantly. He still couldn't believe his ears. Yeah, isn't this a good idea? Wu Jiaowu raised the corners of his mouth and looked at the two of them. He is such a genius. The place was silent. After a long time, Naruto asked thoughtfully, Big brother, are you good at it? Wu Jiaowu brought up a bright smile. Of course, I'm quite strong. I'll just say, Big brother must be very strong. Naruto said seriously. How about no one wearing a sack? I want to be like a big brother in the future, ha ha ha. The corners of Wu Jiaowu's mouth curled into a bright smile. That's right, I'll kill anyone who dares to put on a sack. Naruto, you are very discerning. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Sasuke next to him looked at the two of them in shock. The expression revealed very complicated emotions. For a moment he didn't know what to say. Are you sure? Did your conversation just now go well? Just when he was shocked, the topic next to him was brought back here by Wu Jiaowu. So let's have a ramen contest. Whoever wins, I will delete his black history. Whoever loses is punished. Punishment, punishment for wearing women's clothes. Wu Jiaowu shook his head and said solemnly. Okay, I must be the final champion. Naruto replied in a loud and energetic voice. You agreed so simply. Sasuke looked at Naruto next to him with complicated eyes. In his eyes, he almost wrote the word, idiot, directly. Is there a problem? Naruto said confidently. Anyway, the final winner must be me. He is not afraid of eating ramen. You go, I won't go. Sasuke said decisively. Such a simple trap, he wouldn't step into it directly like a hanging tail car. Aren't you afraid? If you don't go, you will have one less competitor. Naruto said happily beside him. That way he has a better chance of winning. HMPH, compare. Sasuke didn't step into the trap directly, but insisted for 2 seconds before stepping in again. Then let's go now. Wu Jiaowu helped his blindfold and made a decision. By the way, big brother, Naruto scratched his head, his expression suddenly hesitant. My statue is not finished yet. Wu Jiaowu looked at the graffiti around and asked Naruto while holding his chin. Just get it all cleaned up, right? Naruto on the opposite side nodded. Indeed it is. However, there are still many places that have not been done. I'm afraid it won't be finished in a while. It's simple. Wu Jiaowu's blue eyes flashed with a smile. You get out of the way. He raised his hair and looked at the two confidently. As if everything was within his master. Sasuke and Naruto took 2 steps back in confusion and moved to the other side. What is he going to do? Why do you suddenly have a bad feeling? At this time, the 3 of them stood at the top of the Hokage rock statue at the same time. They can overlook the entire Hokage rock statues and Konoha village. Wu Jiaowu took the lead and took a step forward and shouted loudly. Water style. Big waterfall technique. The turbulent water waves swept the entire rock group and the world here. Both Sasuke and Naruto were shocked. What is he doing? Naruto and Sasuke were both stunned. For a long time, I couldn't get back to my senses. Brother, you seem to be. Second brother, you. They touched their still beating hearts and sighed faintly. Why did I have to go through this kind of thing when I was young? Soon a voice came from a distance. Is it an enemy attack? Are there any enemies? There are enemies provoking at the Hokage statue. It doesn't take us too seriously. Let's go and have a look. Konoha's ninjas hurried over after paying attention to the movement here. There was a rare look of confusion on Wu Jiaowu's face. He lifted his chin and said innocently, "What's going on here? Why is everyone here? Do you think the scenery here is good?" Naruto scratched his head and said uncertainly, "We're in trouble." He didn't seem to have such a big fight when he was graffiti. As expected of a big brother, he dares to do things that others dare not do. Sasuke twitched the corner of his mouth and said with a sneer, "Hee, more than." At the same time, Konoha, Anbu also does this kind of surveillance, Kakashi told Uchiha Itachi as he checked the records. Although it's not an assassination, it's also a shameful job. It's even more so when you're monitoring your own companions and family members. At this moment, Uchiha Itachi's eyes were aimed at the monitor. All the people of the Uchiha clan were revealed above. Everyone's actions are clear. He didn't react and still replied calmly, "A mission is a mission." Is this also possible? Kakashi was silent for a moment, somewhat surprised by Uchiha Itachi's attitude. Although they have worked together, Kakashi still doesn't know much about him. He paused and continued, "I can help you change shifts." Uchiha Itachi shook his head and rejected him, "It doesn't have to be, and." His gaze suddenly became long and far-reaching. "And?" Kakashi looked at Uchiha Itachi suspiciously. The people of the Uchiha clan also felt the village's suspicion of them. Uchiha Itachi said, staring at the monitor in front of him. "So I'm the best person to monitor them. There is nothing more secure and secret than the son of the patriarch to keep an eye on himself." Suddenly his expression changed. "Is this Satoru and Sasuke? What happened to them?" On the monitor, the ninjas at the scene looked at the Wu Jiaowu trio in disbelief. They were still shocked by Wu Jiaowu's reason for performing ninjutsu. So he's doing ninjutsu to help Naruto. Help him clean up the Hokage rock statue. How did he come up with such a genius idea? Anbu's ninja said in a broken voice. He was so frightened that he ran over without even putting on his clothes. Didn't expect it to be an oolong. Calm down. He looked rather baldly at Wu Jiaowu not far away. Is there really nothing wrong? Are you really from the Uchiha family? Where is the arrogance, the indifference, and the prudence? He wants a normal Uchiha. Sasuke felt embarrassed looking at everyone's eyes. He silently covered his cheeks with his hands. This moment, he felt that his image had been lost. Sasuke covered his heart and looked at Wu Jiaowu, who was still beside him with a bright face. At a young age, he suffered a lot of sadness that he shouldn't have. Saw here, Uchiha Itachi has understood the whole process of the incident. It turned out that his younger brothers made trouble. Thinking of this, his eyes narrowed slightly and he smiled knowingly. The Wu Jiaowu trio finally made it to the Lee ramen shop. They ordered the extra-large ramen for 3. Suddenly, Sasuke thought of something. He looked at Wu Jiaowu suspiciously. "Second brother, do you still have money to pay the bill? Didn't you just use all the money to pay for the destroyed Konoha building? Do you have money to eat?" Naruto also looked at Wu Jiaowu curiously. Wu Jiaowu stroked the blindfold and smiled confidently. Don't worry. Then he pulled out another card out of nowhere and waved it in front of Sasuke. Dang. I stole Weasel's card to raise you. ... The morning's experience had already sharpened Sasuke's heart. He took a deep breath and said calmly, "Does your brother know about this?" Wu Jiaowu raised his eyebrows proudly. How could he know? Is my skill comparable to him? At the same time, Uchiha Itachi in front of the monitor also nodded silently. I know. But with that card. On the other hand, Wu Jiaowu and Sasuke quickly ended the conversation. The three of them stared blankly at the extra-large ramen in front of them. Let's talk first, Wu Jiaowu said calmly. The first person to finish the noodles is the winner. Only winners are exempt from punishment. Do you understand? Sasuke and Naruto nodded earnestly together. Understood. It's not just a ramen competition. It's still a war of dignity, and they absolutely cannot lose. After a long time, ... Sasuke and Naruto looked at Wu Jiaowu who was smiling in disbelief. How come? It was all eaten so quickly. He looks so thin and doesn't look like he can eat very well. I'm willing to admit defeat, but don't regret it. Wu Jiaowu raised a smug smile. Sasuke and Naruto felt pitch black when they heard this. Why is this again? Wu Jiaowu was not worried that they would run away, so he took the card and went to the front to check out. Uncle Yil took the card and swiped it on the machine. Sorry, not enough balance. Question mark question mark question mark. Insufficient balance. Did Itachi anticipate it at the time? Free vouchers can only be discounted for one person. Wu Jiaowu held his chin in thought for a moment. He took out the free ticket, and a wicked smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Uncle, let them sell themselves to pay off their debts. So, on the opposite side, Uncle Yil listened to Wu Jiaowu's suggestion in shock. After a long time, Wu Jiaowu took out 2 sets of women's clothes and walked over. Sasuke, Naruto, it's time to fulfill the promise. Wu Jiaowu said brightly. It was a sunny smile, but in the eyes of Sasuke and Naruto, it was scarier than the devil. Now, they asked in unison. No way. Of course, and you have too. Wu Jiaowu returned affirmatively. After a fierce chase, 2 new waitresses, Xiaolan and Xiao Huang, appeared in Yil Ramen. The vicious version of Xiaolan always looks at others with cold eyes. The sunshine version of Xiao Huang always knocks over all kinds of bottles and cans. They have left countless beautiful legends for Yil Ramen shop. In-store performance also skyrocketed that day. It was night, and Wu Jiaowu and Sasuke were walking back home. Sasuke gritted his teeth and said earnestly, I will never believe anything you say in the future. Wu Jiaowu turned his head and gave him an innocent look. He should have done well today. Willing to help people solve problems for others. Friendly and generous, invite everyone to eat together. How perfect. While Wu Jiaowu was looking at it and thinking about it, he suddenly saw a stall in front of him selling candied haws. It's time to show the warmth of a brother. Sasuke, second brother will buy you candied haws. As soon as he finished speaking, he dragged Sasuke forward. How much is the candied haws? Wu Jiaowu quickly rushed to the stall. This candied fruit is a bunch of 10 yuan. The uncle replied with a smile. 10 yuan, why is it so expensive? Wu Jiaowu asked lightly. Because of the manual cost, all the seeds were dug up. The uncle explained with a smile. Is that so? Wu Jiaowu said with a frank face. Then put the seeds back. Quote. In an instant, except for Wu Jiaowu, the other 2 fell into silence. Last of the last, Wu Jiaowu returned home smoothly with Sasuke and Sasuke's, satisfied, candied fruit. A few days later, Wu Jiaowu was just about to go home with 3 color balls in his mouth. Suddenly I saw a big drunk man being pushed out of the wine house. What happened? Wu Jiaowu looked over curiously. I saw another alcoholic came out of the wine house. Wearing gray clothes with a ferocious expression, he pushed the drunken man who had just gotten up to the ground again. The gray-clothed man shouted angrily, let you mess up. The uncle in black, who was pushed down, got up again. He looked at the gray clothes and said angrily, what are you doing, after all, if it wasn't for you at that time? It's your fault. It's not me, it's you. It's you. The 2 quarreled and soon scuffled together. The passers-by next to him also stopped and looked at them. Hurry up and stop. An old woman stepped forward to persuade. They turned a deaf ear to the old woman's words and continued to fight together. The quarrel soon drew nearby guards in Uchiha uniforms. Hey, what are you arguing about? 2 guards quickly stepped forward to stop them. The drunks still wouldn't stop pulling each other. Be honest. The guards hugged them from behind and forced the 2 apart. They didn't appreciate the guards' kindness. Still struggling to have a good time with the guy on the other side. From the police force, shouted one of the drunks. Hide aside like Nine Tails did. Another drunk said. Hearing this, the police officer changed his previous attitude and asked coldly. What are you talking about? They soon lost patience with the 2 alcoholics. In the blink of an eye, the 2 drunks were thrown down and tied up by them. It hurts, cried the drunkard struggling. Take them both away. The police captain on the side gave the order. Let me go, let me go. The drunken man who was taken away kept yelling at the police officers. The police captain folded his arms and looked solemnly at the 2 drunks. Okay, shut up and go, he said impatiently. The onlookers on the side sighed when they saw this scene. It's just a fight between drunks. It's okay to adjust it. That's rough, Uchihas. Yes, yes. The Uchiha guards did not speak. They just left in the voice of the villagers. Wu Jiaowu stroked the blindfold, and the blue eyes became long and deep. He knew that this kind of thing didn't just happen here. It's more common in other places. Now the relationship between Uchiha and the village is more serious. Times are getting more and more tense. The night of genocide is about to come. There was not much time left for him. Konoha, Hokage office. In recent days, complaints from the public about the police force's strict enforcement have gradually increased. They are also growing suspicious of the troops. Hey, Uchiha is starting to show off his power, Danzo said mockingly. No, it should be resistance. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head and sighed. It's the legacy of the Nine Tails incident 6 years ago. It was clear that no one in the Uchiha family was harmed at that time. An elder questioned. It's the source of speculation, Kaharu said meaningfully. The fact that only the Uchiha clan in the village was unscathed naturally caused dissatisfaction among others. And the practice of ordering Uchiha to stay away from Nine Tails also made Uchiha feel the suspicion from Konoha, which led to the generation of estrangement. Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Probably shouldn't have listened to Danzo in the first place and sent Uchiha to protect the non-combatants when the Nine Tails attacked the village. Not only was this advantageous combat power wasted, but it also caused a gap between Uchiha and the village. This is the worst decision ever. Uchiha's quarantine policy is the basic policy of Konoha that has continued since Nadaime. Danzo said bluntly. The choice to withdraw Uchiha from Nine Tails was also based on the policy left by Nadaime. Does he still think I'm doing something wrong? Just look at how they're doing now and he couldn't be more right. What are you talking about now? Sarutobi Hiruzen let out a long sigh when he heard that Danzo had moved second generation out. Forget it, he will no longer pursue it with the passage of time. Nadaime's intention is not to isolate, but to consider each family. Have you forgotten our friend Uchiha Kagami? How could I forget? His pupil technique has helped me many times. Danzo replied lightly. Uchiha is Konoha's partner, and this partner must be kept. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued. Konoha also needs this favorable combat power. If you can keep it, Danzo ended the conversation vaguely. Konoha, Uchiha tribe. Wu Jiaowu opened the system panel. Host, Wu Jiaowu. World, Hokage Ninja. Unlocks the spellback power ceiling template, Gojo Satoru. Unlock percentage, 45%. Skills, 6 Eyes Complete Edition Kang Incomplete Edition He Incomplete Edition Imaginary Incomplete Edition. Play points, 2000. With the unlocking of the character template, he also obtained a new skill, the virtual type. Although it is also a broken version, it is a timely reign for the current him, and now he also has a fighting force against Uchiha Obito. Wu Jiaowu hooked the corner of his mouth with satisfaction, and there was a slight smile in his eyes. It's not a waste of his hard work to get character acting points and persecute Konoha people. Dang dang dang. Hearing the voice, Wu Jiaowu retracted his thoughts and looked up with 6 eyes. He saw Sasuke knocking on the door. Wu Jiaowu walked over slowly and opened the door. Isn't this Sasuke? What's the matter? Wu Jiaowu had a casual smile on his face. My father told you to come to the study. Sasuke said silently. That's it. Wu Jiaowu yawned and said lazily. I see. After speaking, he closed the door again and prepared to sleep. Second brother, come out for me. Sasuke knocked on the door with gritted teeth. You knew already. I see you don't know. Why did you go back to sleep in a blink of an eye? In the end, Wu Jiaowu walked to the study room with a wobbly pace. As soon as he entered, he realized that the atmosphere was not right. At this time, Uchiha Fugaku was not alone in the study, but Uchiha Makoto and Uchiha Itachi were also present. Fugaku looked at Uchiha Itachi not far away with a dark face, and his expression was extremely serious. What, don't you know tomorrow's day? You haven't figured out where you stand yet. I'm going on a mission tomorrow. Uchiha Itachi replied calmly. What mission? Fugaku continued to ask. Can't say, it's a classified mission. You're already middle-aged, Dad, you shouldn't be so curious. Wu Jiaowu said casually leaning against the door. He tugged at his hair with a bored look on his face. Uchiha Fugaku in front of him was even more angry when he saw his appearance. How could one of his 2 sons be divorced from the family and the other so unreliable? His face changed and he asked, what have you been doing lately? Is there any task? Mission. Wu Jiaowu stroked his chin and thought for a while. Of course there is. Like rebuilding buildings near the Hokage rock statue. This refers to the flowers, plants and various buildings that were innocently involved when he washed the statue with water style. And the truth about the disappearance of Ninja Cat. This means that Ahua's cat next door disappeared and he went to help find traces of the cat. And also, enough, isn't there any valuable information? Uchiha Fugaku Ninja said in a suppressed voice, with the urge to reach out and caress his forehead. Value. This is obviously valuable news. Wu Jiaowu looked at Uchiha Fugaku with a puzzled face. Uchiha Fugaku laughed angrily, and the image of the patriarch that he had worked hard to maintain was also successfully broken. What kind of bad luck did he have to encounter such a traitor? After a long time, Uchiha Fugaku finally calmed down his inner turmoil. He looked away from Wu Jiaowu's body and was no longer ready to continue the conversation. Then he looked at the opposite Uchiha Itachi again and continued. Itachi, you are also the central passage connecting the clan and the village, you should understand that. Uchiha Itachi lowered his eyes. And tomorrow's rally you have to be there. Wu Jiaowu calmly watched what was happening in front of him. This is not the first time this has happened. Since the tension between Uchiha and the village, the conflict between them has become more and more obvious. It seemed impossible for Uchiha Itachi to abandon his plans after all. Really bald, but that's okay. According to his current strength and arrangement, the odds of winning are great. At that time, he must hammer their dog's head. The next day, Wu Jiaowu quickly came to the river at the back of the Nanhi temple. He saw Uchiha Shisui just now when he used 6 eyes. His current situation is very bad. It appears that Danzo has had an eye gouged out. Oh, right, the other one was also dug by himself. Tisk, is Sharingan a pluggable? How do you dig? Just dig. Just pull it out. Wu Jiaowu made his debut while muttering and caught Uchiha Shisui falling from above in time. Hi, I said falling objects from high altitudes is unacceptable. The flowers and plants that hit the ground are not beautiful. Uchiha Shisui unexpectedly found that he had been rescued. Who is it? His actions this time were very secretive. Logically speaking, no one should know, let alone help. Is it just a coincidence? He was secretly vigilant. And soon, he heard a familiar voice. Is that kid? What happened? How could he be here? And so happened to save him? For a moment, his mind was full of doubts. Wu Jiaowu yawned loosely and complained in the same tone as usual. Shisui, are you sacrificing love? This kind of routine is no longer popular with girls. There will not be any secret treasures at the bottom of the cliff, and experts are waiting for you to dig. Uchiha Shisui twitched the corners of his mouth speechlessly. What is this with what? Seeing him seriously injured and falling from a high altitude, is it appropriate to just say this? Why are you here? Uchiha Shisui asked suspiciously. It stands to reason that he should go to Uchiha's rally, why is he here? Thinking of this, Uchiha Shisui continued, aren't you supposed to go to the rally? Wu Jiaowu rested his chin and said solemnly. I didn't expect Shisui to expect so much from me. How could I possibly go to one of those long, boring meetings? It's already cocked, okay. His tone was also rather smug and light. Do you want to be so proud? It's like doing something amazing. Uchiha Shisui twitched the corners of his mouth with a laugh. He was about to say something when Wu Jiaowu decisively interrupted him. I said. Wu Jiaowu's voice couldn't tell any emotion. Your eyes were gouged out by Danzo? ? A look of shock flashed across Uchiha Shisui's face, and his breathing rumbled. How did this guy know? Even third generation doesn't know about this. Only he and Uchiha Itachi knew. This guy is usually so unreliable, how can he suddenly be so sharp? He remembered that the tasks that Wu usually came into contact with were all positive work. Rarely contact those dark tasks that can't see the light. So it stands to reason that there should be no insight into this aspect so quickly. How did he find out so quickly that Danzo did it? He suddenly recalled a memory. Wu Jiaowu actually said something similar to Danzo coveting his eyes before. It's just that he didn't care too much at the time, and Wu Jiaowu said it more vaguely. So he actually had doubts about Danzo before. Did he see the clue at the time? How old was he then? So sharp, Shisui came out of his thoughts, and he twitched the corners of his mouth half-jokingly. Sure enough, the eyes were still taken to collect stamps. Serious injuries and betrayal still did not dampen his will and spirit. Wu Jiaowu tilted his head and looked at Uchiha Shisui helplessly. Tisk, I told you long ago that he is a stamp collector, but you just don't believe it. I didn't expect him to do this. Uchiha Shisui shook his head helplessly. He had expected Danzo to be more or less moral. Unexpectedly, he suddenly shot. And, thinking of the Sharingan on Danzo's eyes, Uchiha Shisui's expression suddenly changed. Is Danzo so paranoid and insane now? Wu Jiaowu twitched the corners of his mouth and said sarcastically. Those old rotten oranges can do anything. Then he picked up the bandage to treat the wound to Uchiha Shisui. No need. Uchiha Shisui stopped him. Maybe my death makes the most sense. Only then will people find out that Danzo is not trustworthy. Even his allies can easily betray. Heard here. Wu Jiaowu twitched the corner of his mouth and knotted the bandage. Hi. Uchiha Shisui felt a sharp pain. His expression was full of puzzlement and doubt. What happened? It turned out to be for this reason. You made the upstairs Uchiha Itachi miserable. Wu Jiaowu looked up at the cliff. Uchiha Itachi probably thought that you had sacrificed your life for peace. I didn't expect you to be for the simple reason of warning people not to believe Danzo. Why don't you just say it out loud? But, even without this series of things from Uchiha Shisui, Uchiha Itachi's choices shouldn't change much. Wu Jiaowu shook his shattered hair, and a bright smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. At this time, he said in a tone of selling Amway. I said juvenile. If you want to achieve peace, you might as well do it with me. Question mark. What are you saying? Uchiha Shisui looked at the small child in confusion. In the end, he smiled lightly. Such a big thing is not something you children should consider. Leave it to us adults. So the way you deal with the problem is suicide. Wu Jiaowu laughed mercilessly. So sloppy. Uchiha Shisui, who was still lying down, smiled helplessly. It's also a good idea, he explained. Ha ha. Wu Jiaowu sneered. Guess what? If Konoha and Uchiha were officially hostile, what would Uchiha Itachi, who inherited your legacy, do? I'm afraid he will sacrifice everything for peace like you. Even the entire Uchiha clan. How is that possible? Uchiha Shisui shook his head in disbelief. Then he didn't know what was going on and started to discuss his thoughts with Wu Jiaowu. He was obviously just a young child, but somehow he felt some reliability. We are all working for the peace of the village and Uchiha, how could Itachi do such a thing? Wu Jiaowu said calmly, what if Konoha asked him to choose between the village and Uchiha? Did you choose to destroy the Uchiha clan, who had little chance of winning the coup? Or did you choose to destroy the entire clan with your own hands but be able to keep your younger brother and family honor? What do you think he will choose? A hint of surprise flashed across Uchiha Shisui's expression. He hesitated and said, why would Konoha do this? If things really come to this point, is Konoha still Konoha? Shisui was silent for a moment, shook his head and said to Wu Jiaowu, so far, this is the best way I can think of. As for the future, I really can't predict. If things do get to that point. He stopped talking. If things got to that point, he didn't know what to do. Wu Jiaowu looked at Uchiha Shisui and opened his mouth in a quiet voice. At this time, he changed his usual sloppiness and suddenly became serious. So if you want to change all this, it's useless to die. Uchiha Shisui froze for a moment and looked at Wu Jiaowu's approximate direction with some doubts. Why does it feel like his whole person is suddenly different? Is it an illusion? This is a problem that not even third Hokage can solve. What can he do with a child? Wu Jiaowu said slowly. Since you don't want Uchiha to have an accident, and you want to save Konoha, why don't you change your path? The fact that Uchiha can't survive in Konoha doesn't mean he can't survive anywhere else. Soon, Uchiha Shisui interrupted him. You mean to change the village? It's impossible. His tone was quite absolute. This is a problem that can be solved by changing a village. Other villages would never have accepted them so easily. I am afraid that they will be considered as good materials to study. Sure enough, he was still a child, and he could even come up with such unreliable reasons. Shisui shook his head and laughed dumbly. Wu Jiaowu, who was still clearing the traces on the ground, glanced at him, his eyes long and deep. He raised the corners of his mouth and said in a light tone, "Why did you just think of changing the village? It was hard to come out, of course, to build a third-party force by yourself. I don't want to just get rid of a bunch of old oranges and welcome a new batch of orange essences. Young man, do you want to find your dream with me?" Wu Jiaowu briefly explained his plan to Uchiha Shisui in an unreliable tone. "Then wait for Shisui's recovery." What? A flash of surprise flashed across Uchiha Shisui's expression. It wasn't until a long time ago that he hadn't digested the news he got from Wu Jiaowu. Build a new faction. Shisui was struck by Wu Jiaowu's bold idea. How can that be? They are just ninjas. At first he just thought it was a nonsense, a good hope for a young man. Then, after Wu Jiaowu explained his plan one by one, he actually found that the plan was feasible. Every preparation is not in vain. Most surprising. What? Did he have a country? When did this happen? When did he secretly start something big behind our backs? Not a single trace. Not found at all. Uchiha Shisui looked at the previously unreliable boy in disbelief. Is this still the guy? Incredible. I remember him as an enthusiastic, lively and occasionally funny boy. In essence, it is relatively simple and kind. Why did so many things happen all of a sudden? Uchiha Sasuke would have been shocked to hear his comments on Wu Jiaowu. And even the client Wu Jiaowu would feel quite guilty. Then he went on to sigh that Shisui's good man filter has become so serious that it can't be cured. Wu Jiaowu then said, "So you want to come?" Uchiha Shisui was silent for a long time and suddenly made a sound. He answered briskly, "Of course, how can my brother not be satisfied with his brother's request? Of course he would agree. Since everyone has paved the way for peace, how could he give up exploring?" Like Itachi, he ignored the enormous energy in this young man, and the unique soul beneath his casual exterior. I really don't know when Itachi will find out the truth. The look on his face must have been very funny by then. Itachi sometimes only sees his own strength and carries the burden around him on himself. This is not to say that it is not good, but that too much attention to yourself will ignore the power of the people around you. Uchiha Shisui hooked the corners of his mouth, imagining the interesting scene after that. As soon as the conversation is over, Wu Jiaowu dodged Konoha's heavy stalking and sent Uchiha Shisui to the beauty contact country for training. During this period, they also started a dispute because of this name. Uchiha Shisui silently complained, "I always feel that the name of the United States is strange." Although he also disliked the name, Wu Jiaowu immediately retorted, "What's strange? It sounds very nice." Uchiha Shisui shook his head and suddenly made a suggestion, "Why not call it Sharingan?" PFF. Wu Jiaowu laughed mercilessly. "Sharing country. Your aesthetics are too bad. So obviously afraid that people won't find you." After sending Uchiha Shisui to the beauty contact country, Wu Jiaowu quickly returned to Konoha. There was one more thing he didn't do. Uchiha Shisui's eyes he still needs to get back. His gaze fell lightly to the distant root base. Root base. It was night, and a man in black wearing a Uzumaki mask suddenly appeared on the suspension bridge. This person is Wu Jiaowu. Of course he wouldn't be stupid enough to use his own identity to break in. Let's take the identity of the masked man Uchiha Obito and use it first. It's all Uchiha anyway, so he shouldn't mind. Wu Jiaowu puffed out his chest confidently. But eyes. Blue eyes and red eyes should be similar. His 6 eyes seem to have replaced the body's Sharingan. Nor can it be said to be a replacement. If you think of 6 eyes as an upgraded version of Sharingan, you can. Then it's the super deluxe version of Sharingan. As soon as Wu Jiaowu arrived on the suspension bridge, he was quickly welcomed by people from all walks of life. At the beginning of the game, there was a big sale, and it was very arrogant. Wu Jiaowu didn't panic, just slightly turned his body to the side, and he managed to dodge all the kunai. Although he also has a passive system reward, there is no lower limit to the spell. The infinite formula is to bring the infinite series convergent in the magical infinite Achilles paradox to reality. This distance can be infinitely reduced indefinitely. And no lower limit spell can realize this concept in a certain space in reality. It is capable of interfering with matter at the atomic level, ruling space. However, it requires extremely meticulous mana manipulation, so only the wielder of the six-eyed can use this spell. However, due to the insufficient unlocking degree, his unlimited spells are not perfect. Therefore, he generally does not take the initiative to waste his skills in such places. There is one more thing about the infinite spell. Unlimited spells have derived many useful skills, such as Kang, He, and Kai. Perhaps it is because of the incompleteness of the unlimited spells that other skills have been in this incomplete state for a long time. Wu Jiaowu said briskly as he looked at the green poisonous voice stained by Kunwusheng. Hey, don't be so enthusiastic. By the way, isn't Danzo here? Don't you dare to come out. The root people were annoyed when they saw his arrogant arrogance. How dare you break into the roots without authorization? Court death. They looked at each other and cast kunai again. Wu Jiaowu yawned while dodging. I said, can you guys be a little creative? It's so boring. In this case, he can't be motivated at all. The people at the root felt that they had already tested his strength and jumped down from the air. They charged at Wu Jiaowu with long swords in hand. Wu Jiaowu used the same trick that Uchiha Obito used against him at the time. Fire style. Flurry. Also a master of the space department, Wu Jiaowu quickly learned this trick at that time. It looks good now. The huge vortex-shaped wind blesses the flames and forms a powerful burst of wind. The flame in the shape of a flaming snake was extremely ferocious, and it devoured the people of its roots in an instant. They didn't even have a corpse left. Sawdust and flames scattered throughout the space. The drawbridge also kept burning. It's not good to slash people like this. Especially the posture of holding the sword is wrong. Wu Jiaowu instructed quite friendly. Then he fluttered past the long sword that was slashing horizontally, kicked with his long legs, and instantly the future person kicked the wall. A hole was immediately smashed out of the hard wall, and the person who had just fallen was now half lying there, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. So strong. In the blink of an eye, a lot of people at the root have been lost. The fingers of the other people holding the sword could not help but tremble slightly, and the palms of their hands began to sweat. How can it be so strong? They didn't even touch his clothes Kakuzu. It's a complete kill. Their self-confidence was instantly shattered. How to do? My hands and feet felt a little stiff and I couldn't move. Right now, a cold light from nowhere came with a gust of wind. Shuriken. Wu Jiaowu tilted his head slightly and nodded. Look, I'm finally willing to come out. Fair enough. Save him looking everywhere, although the six eyes can see the trace of Danzo clearly. But it's good to save a little trouble. The shuriken that had suddenly appeared just now was approaching in the blink of an eye. Want to see my face so much? He said half-jokingly, glancing at Danzo who was hiding in the dark. Then do I have to pay? As soon as the words fell, Wu Jiaowu disappeared in front of everyone in an instant. The cold shuriken also fell suddenly. What happened? Why did people suddenly disappear? Danzo, who was hidden in the dark, stared closely at the dim surroundings, still finding nothing. The Sharingan in his palm quietly opened to scan the scenery and the crowd, but he never found any clues. Where are people? Not even the slightest breath. His heart froze, and people became more cautious. Tisk, are you looking for me? Suddenly, a playful voice sounded from above. Is it? Danzo took 2 steps back suddenly and looked up at Wu Jiaowu. This mysterious man in a black robe was actually above his head just now. He didn't even notice at such a close distance. There was a flash of surprise in Danzo's eyes, and the expression on his face became more serious. When? He asked gloomily. Who are you? Wu Jiaowu tugged at his black hair and asked in a brisk tone. So many questions, which one should I answer first? Before he came, he was ready to disguise. Hair color and eye color are naturally one not forgotten. His afterimage crossed the air, and in the blink of an eye he was in front of Danzo. Wu Jiaowu reached out and punched Danzo hard in the face. Boom! The Danzo in front of him instantly turned into a cloud of white smoke and disappeared. Not bad. Wu Jiaowu had a flat smile on his face. It seems that the old man's body is quite tough. It's not boring to fight this way. Danzo, who was hiding on the other side of the building, turned black instantly. This mysterious man is not only mysterious and unpredictable, but also has a very bad personality. Who is he? Right now. Hi, so it's here. The familiar voice echoed in Danzo's ears, who was still thinking. His face turned solemn and he looked back, his eyes were a little incredible. How come? How could he suddenly appear? Incredible. It was obvious that there was a considerable distance from his hiding place just now. But in the blink of an eye, these distances seemed to vanish immediately. How to do it, even if his hiding place is accidentally exposed? There is no way he could have come here so soon. Is this some kind of ninjutsu? Pure physical skills can never achieve this speed. Danzo's silent eyes suddenly darkened. It's not enough to just hide. Wu Jiaowu stroked his mask and said seriously. Anyway, show some energy. Is it worthy of being a ninja who has experienced many wars? The breath is very secretive. If it weren't for his 6 eyes, it would be hard to find out. Wu Jiaowu lowered his eyes and thought silently, but his expression did not reveal the slightest. He still maintains a relaxed attitude, secretly putting pressure on Danzo. People's emotions and mental states play a vital role in the entire battlefield situation. Once the psychology breaks down, there will definitely be loopholes in the defense. Wu Jiaowu knew that his advantage at the moment was these seemingly mysterious and powerful skills. So he decided to make the most of it. While Danzo was still flashing, Wu Jiaowu immediately seized the opportunity. His well-defined fingers, clenched into fists, strike Danzo's face with enormous, unimaginable force. The speed is so fast that it is difficult to react for a while. Immediately, Danzo was knocked out by him. Hiss. Danzo's eyes were cold and gritted. He hadn't been so embarrassed in a long time. In midair, he turned over and stepped on the half-burned suspension bridge. Very good. He stabilized his mind and looked at Wu Jiaowu fiercely. There was no bloodline that kept flowing from the mouth. It's really good. I remember you. There is no way to see the flow of chakra, and there is no way to speculate on this mysterious trajectory, right? Do you think I can't do this? A cold sneer came from the corner of Danzo's mouth. So what if the attack range is increased? Can you still be so confident? Although Danzo doesn't understand how the you-know-who does all this. But years of fighting experience taught him that there is no ninjutsu without weaknesses. Since his specialty lies in the mysterious movement and speed. Then defeat him in the easiest way. Expand the attack range. See if you can keep your current advantage. Danzo thought a lot in an instant. He quickly opened the distance from Wu Jiaowu. Then the fingers quickly knotted, wind style. Vacuum wave. From his mouth he exhaled a sharp breath similar to that of a ferret. This kind of breath can completely cut off the human body in an instant. Even if chakra is attached to the body, it is useless. It is a ninjutsu capable of severing chakra together. Danzo raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth and looked forward. Countless air blades attacked Wu Jiaowu in an instant. The black figure was instantly shrouded in this murderous air blade. The flying sand and the air waves rose together, filling the whole world. Did you hit it? Looking at the chakra air waves not far away, he thought to himself. For a long time, the chakra air blade gradually disappeared, and the dust slowly fell to the ground. A figure slowly walked out of it. Light blue energy spreads around. Hi. Wu Jiaowu waved his hand loosely. Meet again. His posture is still so relaxed and casual, there seems to be no pressure. But he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. His unlimited skill currently only lasts for a short while. If Danzo continues to use this ninjutsu, the result is unknown. However, judging from his previous attacking habits, like this ninjutsu that consumes a lot of chakra, he generally does not continue to release it for too long. This is also the reason why he chose to use unlimited skills to resist attacks. He guessed that Danzo would not maintain this ninjutsu for too long. And it turned out that the result was not what he expected. Danzo on the opposite side saw this scene, his pupils shrank suddenly, and an unbelievable expression appeared on his face. He came out unscathed. How can that be possible? His blow. Even elite Jonin can't come out unscathed. Not even the corners of the clothes were torn. It also. Too much. Danzo calmed down and looked at Wu Jiaowu vigilantly. With years of battle experience, his chaotic mood gradually stabilized. On the opposite side, Wu Jiaowu lifted his chin and said words that were maddening and worthless. Only to this extent. To be honest, it's kind of boring. The timing is just right. That trick is almost ready to use at this time. Suddenly, his eyes turned cold and he took 2 steps forward. The aura around him also changed. Wu Jiaowu stretched out his right hand. Black rings of energy gathered into balls, lingering around his fingertips. The surrounding space also seemed to make a shattering sound. He said calmly. At this moment, the energy seems to have been condensed into the ultimate. Uncontrollable pressure rushed towards Danzo. What is this? What a terrifying power. There is no way to avoid it. Danzo's pupils instantly constricted into needles. At the moment when the light shines, his whole body was slammed into the distant wall by the surging energy. There were deep marks on the ground. The gravel fell, burying Danzo whole. Ha! Wu Jiaowu let out a suspicious tone with a bright smile on the corner of his mouth. Won't you die? It doesn't seem to use much force. If dead, but trouble, Wu Jiaowu thought without guilt. He then walked to the nearby gravel to observe. At this time, Danzo was very miserable, most of his body was penetrated, and he was buried in the pile of rubble covered in blood. He looked at Wu Jiaowu incredulously. Terrible energy. What exactly is this? Not your ordinary chakra energy. But something stronger than that. This blow directly penetrated his body. He could feel his life slipping away. Is that so? Oh, how is it possible? A strange smile suddenly appeared on Danzo's face. Of course he wouldn't fall like that. He still has a whole card that hasn't been used yet. As long as he launches an attack at the moment when this mysterious man who hides his head and shows his tail is careless, he will have a chance to turn defeat into victory. At that time, all doubts can be understood from this guy. Maybe he can get a surprise. Danzo comforted himself silently, then carefully observed Wu Jiaowu who was approaching. It's now. A strange cold light flashed across Danzo's eyes. He said the name silently, Izanagi. This is the ultimate pupil technique that can reverse the tide of battle, born from the application of Sage of Six Paths ninjutsu, creation of all things. It only takes a very short period of time to convert the damage of the caster and the unfavorable factors including death into a dream state, that is, all attacks are invalid during this time. Moreover, it can also realize favorable factors such as the attack of the caster. It is the ultimate illusion that can freely control the boundary between illusion and reality, and can control the transition between dream and reality. However, after using this product, the user's eyes will lose light and cannot be opened again. Although it can only be used once, it doesn't matter. As long as the Uchiha family is completely eradicated, he will have a steady stream of Sharingans to use. For a moment, Danzo, who was dying in the rubble, suddenly disappeared. Ha! Wu Jiaowu muttered in a low voice, but his eyes were very calm. Disappeared. He should have used Izanagi at this time. The corner of Wu Jiaowu's mouth raised quietly. This is what he was waiting for. Through the 6 eyes, he had already discovered the eye in Danzo's palm. In addition to this one, he also had Shisui's eyes in his sockets. But in such a short time, Shisui's eyes and Danzo's body hadn't adjusted to each other. At this time he will not use distinguished heavenly gods. So he just had to worry about the one-off Izanagi. Suddenly, a very cold wind suddenly rose. The pale arm suddenly grabbed Wu Jiaowu's neck. Danzo appeared strangely behind Wu Jiaowu. The corners of his mouth drew a strange smile. In the end I still won. Keeping your hands before the war is a big no-no. He had clearly sensed Wu Jiaowu's last mercy. I don't know why, but now the victory belongs to him. Ha! Wu Jiaowu didn't speak, just sneered. The corners of the mouth under the mask also raised indifferently. Did you make it? Not necessarily. As soon as the laughter sounded, his whole person disappeared in a bizarre response. Danzo clenched his fingers but could only catch a patch of air. How? He muttered to himself. Impossible, he clearly. At first he thought it was similar to Facianlay technique. Didn't care too much. Only after close contact did he discover the strangeness of Wu Jiaowu. He doesn't have any trajectory at all. It just disappeared out of thin air. Even Minato's Flying God Thunder technique can't do that. It also needs to engrave the relevant spells in advance. But what exactly is going on? Danzo's pupils shrank, and his expression froze. The successive failures left him in a state of disarray. There were also holes in his tight defense. Just this moment, Wu Jiaowu suddenly appeared behind him. The slender phalanx reached Danzo's eyes with lightning speed. In an instant, the fiery red crystal was taken into the palm of Wu Jiaowu's hand. He rubbed his neck and said in disgust, "Gross." At the same time, Danzo felt the blackness before his eyes, and the severe pain followed. The Mangekyo Sharingan, which he had just worked so hard for, disappeared. He covered his eyes and let out a hoarse pain in his voice. The other eye looked at Wu Jiaowu with some horror. Until now, he suddenly realized the huge gap between the two of them. Who is the mysterious person in front of him? His outfit is very similar to what Minato said at the time before his death. Is it the same person? So what does he want to do when he comes to Konoha? Start a war? Danzo took 2 steps back and looked at Wu Jiaowu vigilantly. He was ready to run away at any time. He can't die now. His ambitions and aspirations have not been fulfilled. How can you easily die here? He opened his mouth cautiously. What do you want to do when you come to Konoha? Wu Jiaowu didn't care about Danzo's tentative words. He casually raised his right hand. Countless stones were floating around. Boom! Wu Jiaowu slowly walked towards the door. Behind him, stones, big and small, shot at Danzo with arrows. In the blink of an eye, Danzo was buried under the rubble again. Wu Jiaowu left the root base in an instant. After a long time, the crunching sound re-emerged from the rubble. Danzo came out slowly. He said coldly to the person under his opponent, "Go check. Always monitor the Uchiha clan. As soon as you see any information related to the Uzumaki mask, report it to me immediately." Who is this person? Since he came here specifically for Sharingan, he may have a corresponding relationship with the Uchiha family. Uzumaki mask, black robe. He hadn't failed like this in a long time. This sudden attack destroyed everything he had finally planned before. Thinking of the Mangekyo he had earned so hard, Danzo's eyes grew gloomy. Next time, don't let him see you again. At the same time, Wu Jiaowu stroked the blindfold, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. He took the Mangekyo Sharingan in his hand and rushed to the beauty contact country. This trip has been quite rewarding. Holding a bunch of 3-color balls in his mouth, he thought to himself. Soon after, news of Uchiha Shisui's death spread quickly. The morale and combat power of the Uchiha clan as a whole were also weakened. The germ of the rebellion seemed to disappear with it. Konoha and Uchiha usher in a brief period of peace. But Wu Jiaowu knew that this peace was only temporary and would be broken again soon. And that night of genocide is coming. But this time, he was ready. Konoha Village, Hokage office. Third Hokage slowly put down the material in his hand. He looked deeply at Kakashi not far away. The enchantment system near the Uchiha tribe is frequently invaded. What do you think about this, Kakashi? Kakashi, who was opposite, stroked the forehead protector and replied calmly. Based on the current intelligence, the identity and purpose of the intruder cannot be figured out. Only part of the enchantment system can be staffed separately. Cooperate with the enchantment class, and respond immediately once a reaction occurs. If you don't use such a sea of tactics, it is almost impossible to find the aggressor. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, his eyes becoming very long and deep. There is no way to send so many people to do this now. The opposite Kakashi pondered for a while before continuing. Then we can only ask the police force to step up patrols. But, a hint of complexity flashed in Kakashi's eyes. Now, the police force is run by the Uchiha clan. And according to the current situation, they are very suspicious. He hesitated for a moment and then reorganized the language. That's it, I haven't been to the Uchiha area for a long time, I just went there. It doesn't feel the same as before. Very nervous. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to quickly understand what he meant. He asked thoughtfully, does it feel very closed? Kakashi nodded at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Yes, they seem to be quite repulsive to outsider access. Is that so? Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered. I will discuss with the senior management about the police force. This mission ends here. Kakashi nodded at Sarutobi Hiruzen, and soon left the Hokage office without a sound. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the empty office and sighed slowly. The storm is coming. Konoha, Uchiha tribe. Wu Jiaowu's azure blue eyes looked into the distance calmly. Under the 6 eyes, he clearly saw the 2 people who were talking. Among the woods. Action tonight, Uchiha Itachi said calmly. The masked man standing opposite glanced at Uchiha Itachi. Well, according to the agreement, I will help you. Then do as promised. Uchiha Itachi turned and looked into the depths of the woods. The man on the opposite side crossed his chest with his hands, and the mask covered all his emotions. The reason why I helped you annihilate Uchiha is not only for revenge, but also for other purposes. Take it as if you didn't see it. You told me not to use Sharingan to record your actions. Uchiha Itachi glanced back at him. Yes, this is also the proof that I let your brother survive. The masked man nodded. I don't need kids without Sharingan. So I can rest assured. Uchiha Itachi's voice showed no emotion. I have no other way out than trusting you. If you are desperate, you can come to my organization. The masked man said lightly after hearing it. Your organization? Uchiha Itachi asked quietly. My name is Xiao. Wu Jiaowu withdrew his eyes, and his short white hair fell slightly. Today, the time is just right. After he passed the message to Uchiha Shisui. Then I walked into Uchiha Fugaku's study. They talked for a long time. This conversation also made Uchiha Fugaku remember for a long time. Years later, he can still clearly remember that dazzling young man in the study. And all sorts of fanciful but effective moves he said. He could not forget that shocking feeling for a long time. Maybe geniuses really have no time and age boundaries. There are always some people who are beyond the existing framework and rules. Into the night. Leave this to me, Uchiha Shisui asked suspiciously. Does he have anything else to do? Why do you suddenly say that? Wu Jiaowu shook his broken hair and said brightly. Didn't I say so? There is still a masked man that has not been resolved, so. You steal your home, I'll stop it. Uchiha Shisui looked at Wu Jiaowu with a bad expression. Do not. You didn't say it at all. He never said such a big thing. He didn't know about it until now. His eyes became more and more dangerous, and his face became more and more dark. There seemed to be a black mist all around him. The corners of Wu Jiaowu's raised mouth were slightly stiff. What? Not good, Shisui, this is blackened. Even so, he still stubbornly pretends. Ha ha ha, then it's okay to say it now. Uchiha Shisui held back the surging emotions in his heart. Tell yourself this is the founder of their base. Can't do it, can't do it. Be patient, be patient. After a long time, he opened his mouth slowly. In that case, let me hold him back. You can't have any surprises now. Since he deliberately mentioned this masked man, he must have extraordinary strength. So Uchiha Shisui immediately made this suggestion to stop Wu Jiaowu from taking the risk alone. The entire new base of Uchiha was created by him, and the people in the base also depended deeply on him. He is now the pillar of the entire base, and if the pillar collapses, all construction will disappear with it. He can't be okay now. Wu Jiaowu lifted his chin, and then laughed mercilessly without hesitation. You cannot. With only one Mangekyo, you can only fool children now. For example, Itachi is fine. As for the masked person, I have my own arrangements. Uchiha Shisui looked rather bald and looked at Wu Jiaowu who was constantly laughing in front of him. Have your own arrangements. Who are you going to let go? Don't tell me you're going by yourself. Also, who is that masked man? How strong is he? And why is he involved? Wu Jiaowu looked at the problem constantly Uchiha Shisui with a complicated look. He shook his head and let out a long sigh. Time is pretty scary. You can turn a good young man into a mother in the blink of an eye. I really didn't expect. In an instant, the face of Uchiha Shisui on the opposite side suddenly turned black, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. He thought through gritted teeth. Who did he give it to? If he hadn't been trapped for a long time, how could he be so long-winded? After the joke, Wu Jiaowu put away the smile on his face, and his temperament also changed. He said in a calm and serious tone. That's how it was decided. You have other tasks to do. The 2 scrolls one gave you are enough for you to transfer the Uchiha clan and set up the illusion of death. Your illusion and the cooperation of Dad and the others are enough to hide Itachi. Uchiha Shisui looked helplessly at Wu Jiaowu in front of him. After a long time, he nodded slowly and said calmly. Okay, kid, if so, then so be it. He now regrets having his eyes gouged out so happily. Otherwise, he might be able to exert more power today. However, he still chose to trust Wu Jiaowu, although he is always unreliable. But sometimes it's still very trustworthy. Konoha Village, Uchiha Tribe. Wu Jiaowu looked at Uchiha Obito, the masked man who had arrived one step ahead, with a slight smile on his face. Just don't worry about how to separate Uchiha Obito and Uchiha Itachi. He is also dressed in Uzumaki mask and black robe. Mysterious man meets mysterious man. Everyone is a mystery person today. How perfect. Just hold him for a moment or three, and his task for today will be accomplished. The corners of Wu Jiaowu's mouth raised slightly, but his heart was extremely calm. He quietly observed Uchiha Obito who had arrived. Then he picked an excellent opportunity and gently threw out a few shuriken. Sweep sweep. Several shuriken attacked Uchiha Obito with a cold light in an instant. Who is it? Uchiha Obito's eyes suddenly sharpened. He deftly dodged the shuriken from these tricky angles. Soon he saw the culprit. A man in the same dress as him quickly evacuated into the distance. Uchiha Obito's expression froze, and then he chased after him. The mysterious man in the same dress made him feel vigilant. Who is he? Why does it appear here? And why is it so similar to his dress? Kamui. Uchiha Obito silently used ninjutsu Kamui, and the whole person disappeared in place in an instant. This is his Mangekyo Sharingan's unique ninjutsu. You can teleport yourself and any item to a unique alien space. Although it takes a long time to absorb yourself, you can move quickly by absorbing and releasing yourself. Wu Jiaowu smiled secretly as he looked at Uchiha Obito who suddenly appeared to block him. Unexpectedly, there is such a surprise in this outfit, and Uchiha Obito can easily be attracted. Uchiha Obito looked at Wu Jiaowu coldly. There was a strong murderous aura all over him. Who are you? Wu Jiaowu slightly raised the corner of his mouth, but there was no emotion in his blue eyes. I'm supposed to be asking you this sentence, right? He said briskly. Why are you here again? Uchiha Obito's eyes turned cold, not ready to talk nonsense. He quickly threw the chain to attack Wu Jiaowu. As a master of the space system, how could he be easily touched by the chain? He made a simple short move and in the blink of an eye came to the other side of Uchiha Obito. So impatient, Wu Jiaowu said lightly. The opposite Uchiha Obito suddenly froze for a moment. Strangeness. The move just now was surprisingly familiar. It seems to have seen it from somewhere. Is it because they are all time-space ninjutsu? What he just performed should be time and space ninjutsu. Similar to my own Kamui. But, even your own Kamui will have corresponding restrictions when it is activated. For example, it takes longer for Kamui to absorb himself. And even the Flying God Thunder technique needs the corresponding technique to cooperate. But the moment he moved just now, it seemed that no trace was left. How did you do that? Did he not observe clearly just now? Mangekyo was prominent in Uchiha Obito's eyes, and suddenly his eyes were precisely aimed at Wu Jiaowu's blue pupils. Wu Jiaowu did not wear a blindfold today. It's just a simple mask that doesn't block the view. So now he directly met Uchiha Obito's gaze. Stupid. Uchiha Obito laughed. He didn't expect that someone would actually take the initiative to look at Sharingan. But that's good, save him wasting time. He still has things to do. Illusion. Uchiha Obito spit out two words coldly. Mangekyo turned slightly, and the illusion was activated instantly. Using illusion, he can let the other party see the momentary horror fantasy and then deprive the other party of their personal freedom. Now tell me who you are, he said in a low voice. His voice just fell. Wu Jiaowu stopped moving instantly, and the whole person became quiet. The black robe swayed in the wind. He said slowly. Uchiha Obito stared at him with cold eyes, waiting patiently for the next answer. What will he say? Suddenly, PFF'd. Wu Jiaowu let out a chuckle. Sorry, can't hold back, or we'll do it all over again. Under the mask, the corners of his mouth rose slightly, but his expression did not change much. The posture of the whole person is casual, but there is a faint cold light. The opposite Uchiha Obito looked at him in surprise. How come? He even looked at Mangekyo and still didn't respond. This is simply incredible, although his Mangekyo is not specialized in illusions. But something like Sharingan was born for illusion. It inherently has powerful capabilities of replication, hypnosis, observation. When battling against someone with the Sharingan pupil technique, at most they would choose to cut off their line of sight in order to avoid interference. It's the first time he's ever seen someone look directly at Sharingan without reacting. How did this guy do it? Uchiha Obito looked him in the eye and tried again. After the illusion was activated, the man in black was still very calm and did not change in the slightest. This time, he can definitely judge that the man in black in front of him does have the ability to ignore Sharingan's power. How did he do it? Who is he? For a moment, all kinds of questions suddenly lingered in his mind. Uchiha Obito didn't ask his identity this time, just opened his mouth to ask his purpose. He instinctively realized that the man in black in front of him was very difficult to deal with. If you play against him, the result may be unpredictable. As for the next thing, Uchiha genocide, he can't complete it. He looked at Wu Jiaowu with deep eyes. What's your purpose here? As long as you don't get in my way, I have no intention of fighting with you. Wu Jiaowu shook his head slightly, a few strands of hair fluttered in the wind. What a pity, he didn't want to waste time here if it wasn't to delay enough time. At least not now, can easily let you go. Wu Jiaowu rolled his eyes and twitched the corner of his mouth. That won't do, he said quietly. I'm here to avenge my sister. Hitaki Satoru, it's time for you to come in and make a difference. Now his identity is Hitaki Gojo. Hitaki Kakashi and Hitaki Goko's older brother, Hitaki Gojo. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Your sister. A trace of doubt flashed across Uchiha Obito's eyes. Which one? He killed a lot of people, and he didn't know which one was his sister. But he quickly calmed down. That being the case, then let him see what he can do. By the way, he is also very curious, what is he going to do when he wears a similar outfit to him? Is there any other purpose? Uchiha Obito stared at Wu Jiaowu, thinking about the attack plan. Although their location is on the edge of Konoha, if there is a larger movement, Konoha will definitely send someone to check. Especially on this special day. Every pair of eyes is fixed on the Uchiha clan, and the slightest disturbance will immediately cause a large number of ninjas. Therefore, some large-scale ninjutsu attacks cannot be used. In this case, only Kamui, illusion, some taijutsu, and ninjutsu can be used. However, this guy is immune to illusion, so illusion is ineffective. It's a pity, in this case silent illusion is the most suitable. Uchiha Obito stretched out his hands bound with chains, and the chains made a crisp sound under the black robe. He quickly attacked. If I guessed correctly, your teleportation ability is not unlimited. Wu Jiaowu flashed his attack lightly, and his movements were smooth, seemingly undisturbed by Uchiha Obito's words. A smile flashed in his eyes under the mask. Got it right, but not quite. His skill itself can be unlimited. However, because it is still a broken version, it is really impossible to do whatever you want, and the number of times is unlimited. He just took the lead in using this skill, also to arouse the vigilance of Uchiha Obito. As long as Uchiha Obito hesitates for a moment, he can continue to charge his skills to hold him back. Fortunately, Uchiha Obito used an illusion attack. Any illusion attack is ineffective against these 6 eyes. His 6 eyes can penetrate all true knowledge. The illusion attack is just restrained by the 6 eyes. Looks like good luck today. Then Wu Jiaowu calmly looked at the exceptionally keen Uchiha Obito. He stroked the mask slightly, a hint of surprise in his expression. Does it deserve to be the one who came out of the Uchiha family? Unexpectedly sharp. A simple fight, it is easy to find clues. But unfortunately, this is in Konoha. Presumably he will not try his best. If he really wants to be discovered, he will definitely be more bald than himself. As long as he doesn't exert all his strength, he can still barely drag on. His azure blue eyes darkened slightly, and his expression was extraordinarily calm. Facing the constant attacks of Uchiha Obito, he dexterously dodged slightly sideways. Suddenly, he threw a dozen shuriken in his hand and quickly attacked Uchiha Obito. This kind of attack can't hurt me. ... Uchiha Obito made a low voice. He didn't even evade, and countless shuriken seemed to pass through the air without any resistance. The distance between the two of them was also instantly shortened a lot under this attack. Uchiha Obito stretched out his pale fingers and flew forward quickly. In a blink, he successfully approached Wu Jiaowu not far away. Facing Uchiha Obito, who was close at hand, Wu Jiaowu's eyes slightly curved. His figure is still very calm, without the slightest hint of panic and retreat. He took 2 steps forward and quickly attacked. It was Uchiha Obito's plan as well as his plan to pull the distance. Facing a strong enemy and retreating, it is easier to find flaws, and only by constantly advancing can you gain an advantage in battle. Wu Jiaowu's eyes became more and more calm, and his temperament became extremely cold. He secretly gathered up his strength and quickly flew forward, and his right hand also slightly raised. Moment. The huge black energy gradually condensed into a group in his hands. Wu Jiaowu said silently. This is. Uchiha Obito's expression suddenly changed when he saw this familiar energy and tricks. Isn't this the trick used by the man named Hatake Goko? At that time, he was quite surprised by this special energy group. Saying so, is she the sister he was talking about? How are they related to Kakashi? Why haven't I heard of it before? The appearance of two equally strange people out of nowhere confuses Uchiha Obito for a moment. His expression also showed a slight weirdness. However, he soon regained his composure, and his eyes fell back to Wu Jiaowu, who was in front of him. The battle is not over yet. Although the energy is strange, if you can't hit the enemy, it still has no effect. Uchiha Obito's expression darkened as he stared at Wu Jiaowu with a cold gaze. His pale palm was about to hit Wu Jiaowu's belly fatally soon. It seems that the same as the space system. Compared to the speed, he is still one step faster. Under the mask, the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. However, at this time Wu Jiaowu was still in a hurry, as if he didn't feel the chill and danger facing his abdomen. He was still straightforward and close to Uchiha Obito, his eyes extremely calm. He counted secretly in his heart, and his eyes were deep and distant. 3, 2, 1. Time is up. The time for teleport charging is just over. He has one more chance to use it. At the same time, Uchiha Obito's palm turned virtual into reality and touched the ground to Wu Jiaowu on the opposite side. It's over, it's all. Obito's eyes darkened under the mask. Suddenly, just this moment, Wu Jiaowu instantly disappeared in place. Disappeared. Oops. Under the mask, Uchiha Obito's pupils contracted suddenly. It wasn't a real attack just now. He looked up slightly and raised his head slightly. Wu Jiaowu's next attack seems to have been expected. But, at this moment, it's already a bit late. Wu Jiaowu appeared out of thin air behind Uchiha Obito in the blink of an eye. He stretched out his right hand and smashed the black energy ball in his hand towards Uchiha Obito. Boom. Quote. A violent sound suddenly sounded out of thin air. For a moment, dust and gravel splattered. After a long time, the smoke has gradually dissipated, and the dust has fallen back. Not far away, a figure slowly stood up. Uchiha Obito stood on the spot with his slightly injured arm. He looked at Wu Jiaowu in the distance with a little surprise in his eyes. I didn't expect him to be able to do this. Just now, he calculated it in advance. Use yourself as a bait to provoke his attack. Then take advantage of his ability to turn from incorporeal to solid when he attacks and start to fight back. To be able to grasp the momentary opportunity realized by Hollow so accurately. It's amazing. But how did he discover Kamui's weakness? His Kamui paused for only a brief moment. Could it be that he showed a flaw in the shuriken attack just now? But is that moment enough to test it out? Really scary. Uchiha Obito lowered his eyes in surprise. Although the combat experience is slightly lacking, the means are also a bit green. But none of that was anything compared to his precise insight and judgment. What is even more commendable is that it is daring to believe one's own judgment without doubt after only one temptation. There was a rare glimmer of admiration in his eyes. I didn't expect you to be able to do this. Chapter 51. The fingers under Wu Jiaowu's black robe trembled slightly. The continuous use of skills caused him to consume a lot of physical strength. And the fast calculation of the brain also gave him a headache. But okay. The familiarity with Kamui's weaknesses and the blessing of his six-eyed insight made him not at a disadvantage in the test just now. However, he can only do so much now. That's right, the battle just now was just a warm-up. The opposite Uchiha Obito watched Wu Jiaowu put away the chains with a calm expression. Since he also did not reach the bottom limit, there is no need to continue fighting. For now, nothing is more important than the Uchiha genocide. As for his purpose, he will naturally know later. Uchiha Obito has a hunch that this won't be the first and last time they meet. We'll see you again. As soon as the words fell, Uchiha Obito's whole body instantly disappeared into the air. Finally gone. Wu Jiaowu said slowly. Is this the enemy he will face in the future? He seems to be stronger than the last time. This rate of progress gave him a headache. Wu Jiaowu's eyes became deeper. Meanwhile, White Zetsu inside Uchiha Obito couldn't calm down for a long time. What did he see just now? Is that Rinnegan? No, not right. Totally different. But those eyes seemed to contain enormous power. This energy seems to be close to Rinnegan. Could it be an upgraded version of Rinnegan? White Zetsu pondered for a long time, but still had no clue. After a long time, he passed the message to Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu, which was hidden in the dark, became messy in an instant. How is this going? How can there be one more eye? Is there an upgraded version of Rinnegan? As for whether it will be just an ordinary pair of eyes, Black Zetsu says it's impossible. He still has a sense of power. During the process of that mysterious man using it, he noticed the aura of power that was accidentally leaked. That kind of breath is completely different from ordinary pupil power. It seems to be closer to the origin of the world. What will it be? Who is that masked man? Will it be a hindrance in his plans? Konoha, Uchiha tribe. Blood stained the dark night, ch. Behind Uchiha Itachi were corpses everywhere. The entire clan fell into silence. His eyes lived up to the brilliance of the past, thick and deep, thick and dark clouds. Negative emotions lingered in my heart for a long time. However, he still knew that he was very awake now. After a long time, Uchiha Itachi walked slowly to the door. Suddenly, he felt a strange feeling inexplicably. His actions this time seemed too smooth. It stands to reason that the father, as the patriarch, should organize the clan to resist at the first time. However, until now he has not seen the shadow of his father. It's not like his usual style at all. And he didn't face much resistance along the way. Is it because the masked man is helping in the dark? Thinking of this, Uchiha Itachi's doubts subsided a lot. He lowered his eyes and pushed away the only lit room in the house. When he raised his head again, his heart suddenly trembled. In the room, father, mother, and Satoru lay silently on the ground. Their faces were not panicked, but there was a smile on the corners of their mouths. Father, mother, Satoru. Uchiha Itachi's voice was hoarse and trembling. What happened? He obviously hasn't started yet. Why is this so? Although I had already made preparations, seeing it with my own eyes was still full of sadness and pain. Uchiha Itachi's steady fingers trembled slightly. There were many complex emotions in his eyes, but in the end it was silent. Suddenly, his eyes were drawn to a letter on the table. By the time you read this letter, we have probably gone to another world. Don't be sad, Itachi. Compared to us, your pain is just beginning. Just one point, take care of Sasuke. At last, we and Satoru don't blame you for your choice. We just have different paths. Hope you don't blame our last choice either. Father, mother, Satoru. He didn't expect that they would use their lives to fulfill him who had fallen into a painful choice. Self-break as their last heavy love. Looking at the three silent corpses on the ground, Uchiha Itachi felt heavy and confused in his heart. Hot tears turned into blood and fell silently to the ground from his eyes. Sorry. At this moment, the door was opened again. Sasuke hurried into the room where the lights were still on. He saw Uchiha Itachi not far away, his eyes lit up and he collapsed. Big brother, father and mother and second brother. Why, how could this be? Who the hell did this? Father, mother, and the second brother who was always making fun of him all. Uchiha Itachi regained his composure and looked at the collapsed Sasuke calmly. He threw a shuriken out of his right hand and headed straight for Sasuke. Brush. The cold shuriken stabbed Sasuke's hair against the wall behind him. Why? What happened? Sasuke stared blankly at Uchiha Itachi who suddenly attacked. He couldn't calm down for a long time. Uchiha Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan turned quickly, he said indifferently. Stupid brother. If you don't want to be killed by me, fear, run away, and live ugly. That night, on a high mountain outside Konoha. Looking into the distance, the Uchiha clan suddenly burst into a violent fire. The fire lit up the world. Uchiha Obito looked at Uchiha Itachi next to him inexplicably. I didn't expect you to be so straightforward. Uchiha Itachi ignored his words, but his expression did move slightly. Of course he didn't set the fire. As for who it was, he didn't know. Could it be Danzo? Why do this? After a long time, he slowly shifted his gaze to Uchiha Obito's arm. You are hurt. Would someone of his strength get hurt? Uchiha Obito's eyes deepened when he heard this, and he looked at his arm. He instantly remembered the mysterious man who had just attacked him. Who is that person? Finally he looked away to Uchiha Itachi next to him. As promised, I will be waiting for you at Akatsuki. Don't make me wait too long. Konoha, Uchiha tribe. Danzo stared darkly at the fire in front of him. A fire disrupted all his plans and preparations. All of Uchiha's bodies were buried in that fire. He lowered his head and touched the bandage on his head, and his expression became extremely cold. One of the important reasons for the rush to clear the Uchiha plan is because of Sharingan. His Sharingan was taken away by a sudden masked man. Originally, I thought I could recycle this batch of rebels. Let them play their last value and make a contribution to the village. Unexpectedly, the plan was disrupted by a fire. Who set the fire? Uchiha Itachi. Or is it the mysterious masked man? Is he involved in this too? Could it be that his target is Sharingan too? Forget it, no matter who it is, he will not let it go. He stopped to think, and took the root people to leave. Now that Uchiha's Sharingan is gone, there is no point in staying here. The successful eradication of the Uchiha clan can barely count as a gain. Suddenly, the root members behind him made a sudden voice. I see it all. As soon as Danzo stopped, his expression changed. Who is it? He turned around suddenly and looked over. What caught my eye was a pair of blood-red eyes. Mangekyo Sharingan. He is Uchiha Itachi. Danzo's pupils shrank into needles and looked at him in astonishment. How did he show up here? There was no emotion on Uchiha Itachi's face under the mask. His pupils were deep and dense. I saw it all, and I will continue to watch it in the future. As long as you dare to attack Sasuke, I will leak all the secrets of the village to the enemy country. The voice fell. He didn't wait for Danzo's answer either, and the whole person turned into a flock of crows scattered in front of Danzo's eyes. The other side, Shisui quickly disguised the scene with the help of Uchiha Fugaku and others. They used illusions and scrolls to tell a big lie, creating the illusion that everyone was dead. Then a fire successfully destroyed all the items that could reveal their secrets. Then, using the teleportation scroll, I came to the far-flung country of beauty contact lenses. At the same time, Wu Jiaowu also returned to the contact lens country after holding back Uchiha Obito and they reunited. Speaking of which, is it really good for us to play without Sasuke? Wu Jiaowu said vaguely with the three-color ball in his mouth. That's the only way to prevent the plan from leaking, Uchiha Shisui explained patiently. It's okay, kids just deserve to be trained to grow, Uchiha Fugaku said with a smile while drinking tea. This is also just in case, Itachi is still very keen. Everyone's eyes are on Sasuke now, and it's not convenient to contact him. We can only see the situation and wait for a while. Jingjing. Everyone, you have set the policy with every word, and it seems that you are not worried at all. Wu Jiaowu thought of picking up a bunch of three-color balls again innocently. Can't blame me this time. It is they who are not human first. Time flies, and 3 years pass quickly in the blink of an eye. At this time and here in the United States contact lens country, Wu Jiaowu, wearing a black robe, is trying to tie a bandage on his arm. Lord Wu Jiaowu, what are you doing? Bai asked with a puzzled look on the side. What do you want to do today, Mr. Wu? Although they have been with each other for a long time, they still can't understand each other occasionally. Shisui next to him also looked over with a strange look. You, what are you going to do? I won't go to another country to make trouble again. His status as a bandage madman is not low in the black market. The amount of the bounty is far more than the ordinary S-class betrayal. Don't know how he did it. It made him not dare to let Wu Jiaowu out easily, for fear that he would make a big move again. Even simply going out for a meal or attending a temple fair can cause a lot of trouble. Destroying a ninja black market stronghold can only be counted as a trivial matter inside. Uchiha Shisui shook his head and let out a long sigh in silence. People who almost abducted princesses from other countries at a temple fair should not be underestimated. I really don't know how this bandage freak costume attracts people. Of course I went to take the Chunin exam. Wu Jiaowu said with a bright face. Isn't it Konoha's Chunin exam in a few days? Chunin exam. Uchiha Shisui twitched the corners of his mouth and looked at him in shock. What Chunin exam are you taking as a Jonin? After all, Jonin, who used to be Konoha, is now competing with a group of children, which is enough. His eyes became more and more disgusting. At this time, Wu Jiaowu was unmoved, still very calm and calm. He looked at Uchiha Shisui with a straight face. I don't understand what you're saying, I'm just an ordinary genin. Is it white? After hearing Wu Jiaowu's words, Bai nodded cooperatively, yes. You really have a tacit understanding. Seeing this scene, Uchiha Shisui twitched the corners of his mouth helplessly. Fine, just be happy. Soon, Wu Jiaowu packed his things and headed to Konoha village with Bai and Ghost Lantern Waiyu. Ghost Lantern Caillou is a girl he accidentally rescued when he was in the Land of Water a few years ago. Because of being feared by others and following the boundaries of blood, there is nowhere to go. Wu Jiaowu sent her to the beauty contact country. It just so happens that the United States also needs a nominal ninja village. He immediately established a ninja village composed of children. But this ninja village, on the way, by the way, under what name are we going to take the Chunin exam? Guilan Waiyu suddenly asked. Of course it's in the name of our village. Wu Jiaowu replied casually. Our village. Ghost Lantern Waiyu suddenly looked strange. Strictly speaking, the reputation of their village may not be very good to the public. Is this really not going to be sacked in the past? Wu Jiaowu touched the bandage on his eyes and said with a serious expression. At this time, he was wearing a mysterious black robe, and the white bandages were faintly revealed with his movements. One eye on his face was also covered by a white bandage and broken hair. That's right, it's time to make a name for our village and revitalize our home. Maybe the moment they walked out was when they were beaten to death. Beside Bai and Ghost Lantern Waiyu silently thought of Shi. The entrance to Konoha village. Wu Jiaowu touched the bandage and said innocently. We really came to take the Chunin exam. Beside Bai and Ghost Lantern Waiyu nodded very tacitly. They came out in such a hurry this time that they forgot to bring their pass documents. Not far away, Naruto and his party also noticed this. Kakashi-sensei, look over there. Naruto said first. Kakashi put away the book in his hand, and looked over. How is this going? Uchiha Sasuke also looked at the door of Konoha after hearing this. Suddenly, his expression froze, and his footsteps stopped. This person, he is. A face-to-face effort. The real identity of the bandaged freak was immediately taken down. God Sasuke looked at his second brother not far away in shock. Although the second brother was very different from before, and he also made a disguise, he still recognized it in an instant. Because the second brother, he used this look to make fun of himself. Then, Wu Jiaowu, who was covered in bandages, told Uchiha Sasuke seriously. I am not what I used to be. Now I have sealed the jet black wings. Bandage essence. Before he could finish speaking, Uchiha Sasuke interrupted him immediately, and spit out 2 words forcefully. However, Sasuke didn't expect it. Wu Jiaowu in order to prove the real effectiveness of the bandage essence. He jumped into the water with a thud. After the splash of water, the figure disappeared. Sasuke fished him for a long time that day. So as long as you have fished bandages in the river a few times, you will never forget what this guy looks like. Sasuke, are you okay? Little Sakura asked curiously, looking at Sasuke next to him. This was the first time she had seen such an expression on Sasuke. What happened to him? Uchiha Sasuke was suddenly awakened by the voice of little Sakura. He came back to his senses, and quickly ran to the door of Konoha. Wu Jiaowu was about to continue explaining when he felt that someone was staring at him from behind. He stroked his chin and turned away slowly. Which little cutie has such a vision? Uchiha Sasuke's deep expression was immediately reflected in his pupils. He also instantly forgot what he had thought about halfway through. Oops, that's a little bad. Seeing Uchiha Sasuke's cold and solemn temperament, Wu Jiaowu's mouth stiffened slightly. Did they all forget about the child? Ha ha ha, how is that possible? Obviously, everyone has been reluctant to contact because of safety concerns. Wu Jiaowu comforted himself and then quickly raised a bright smile. He reached out and touched Uchiha Sasuke's head and said briskly, "Yo, I am back." Uchiha Sasuke was dumbfounded for a long time and finally whispered in a slightly crying voice, "Welcome back." Naruto in the distance looked at the scene in surprise. What's the origin of this bandage freak? What's his relationship to Sasuke? The man at the gate was covered in bandages. The strange thing is that even the eyes are not spared. Is this the latest trend? Naruto thought suspiciously. The little Sakura next to him also looked over. Who is he? How do you seem to have a good relationship with Sasuke? How could she not remember that Sasuke had such a friend? At the same time, Kakashi felt doubts in his heart. Outer village people. Does Sasuke know them? How did they meet? At this time, Konoha always feels a little bad. Let's go take a look too. Kakashi put away the book and said calmly. The group of them quickly walked over. Genma, what's wrong? Kakashi asked Genma Shiranui, who was in charge of checking out the outsiders. Shiranui Genma slowly turned around when he heard the voice. The moment he saw Kakashi, there was a look of salvation on his face. This guy said they came to take the Chunin exam. He pointed at Wu Jiaowu with a headache in his mouth. But he can't get the passage documents and identification. And they also said that they were from the Sweet Ninja Village. Even though the name of this ninja village is so sweet, it actually has a fierce reputation on the black market. They also don't look like people from Sweet Ninja Village. Kakashi lowered his eyes when he heard the words, and understood all this. Well, do you have anything to prove your identity? Kakashi looked at Wu Jiaowu with a friendly expression. He was keenly aware of Wu Jiaowu's central position in the trio. Proof of identity. Wu Jiaowu held his chin and thought for a while. Have it. Just use this, the identification of the three of us. The voice just fell. He took out 3 pieces of paper from his arms and slammed them on the table. Wu Jiaowu looked up at Kakashi, who was facing him, with a bright smile on the corner of his mouth. He is so smart. Isn't it just right to use this proof of identity? What is this? Hearing this, Kakashi picked up the 3 sheets of paper on the table. 3 big characters on the white paper came into his eyes. Reward order. What the hell? Is it a bounty? The bandaged monster in front of him with his arms folded and his majestic appearance appeared on the white paper. It's really a document that can prove my identity. Kakashi twitched the corners of his mouth. The last time he was so speechless was with that white-haired kid. In other words, this suffocating approach is really similar. Naruto next to him also quickly saw the reward. Ha ha ha, it turned out to be a reward order. He scratched his head and exclaimed. ? Following his exclamation, the eyes of the others moved to the 3 of them. The strangeness of the eyes is far beyond people's imagination. Who are the 3 of them? Got a bounty yet? Which country are you from? Sasuke, who hadn't spoken for a long time, also looked at him strangely. Second brother, how has his life been in the past few years? How can I be rewarded on the black market? And wasn't he killed by Itachi? What the hell is going on in all this? Kakashi put down the paper in his hand and said lightly. Okay, no problem. Genma Shiranui, who was in charge of the investigation, looked at Kakashi suspiciously. Does that work too? Kakashi nodded slightly in response to him. Although it was a bounty from the black market, all the information above was correct, and it was barely enough. As for why people from other villages were offered a reward, it was not about Konoha. I hope there will be no trouble in this Chunin exam. Kakashi looked at the bandaged trio and Sasuke with an inexplicable look, and sighed slowly. Wu Jiaowu team and Uchiha Sasuke came to a position in the back mountain. Why are you here to talk? Sasuke glanced at the 2 people next to him and turned his gaze to Wu Jiaowu again. The fan-shaped family emblem shone brightly in the sun. He had a lot of questions in his mind that his second brother wanted to answer. However, there are 2 unsightly guys next to him. Did you just glance at me? Ghost Lantern, why you suddenly shouted loudly. And it looks disgusting. It's too loud. Why you? Bai said quietly. It will attract others. Hey, how? There's obviously no one around here. Ghost Lantern, why you retorted back in a low voice. But soon she stopped talking. Sasuke wrinkled at the tacit understanding of the 3. Who are they? Wu Jiaowu fluttered his broken hair, and a bright smile appeared on his face. This position is more convenient for talking. He was acutely aware of the unfinished meaning of Uchiha Sasuke, and added a thoughtful sentence. There are too many people staring at the clan. Sasuke took 2 steps forward, urging impatiently. What's going on with all this? Everything came so fast that he didn't have time to react. Why did that person suddenly change his temperament? Is it really just for tester volume? And second brother, isn't he dead? Why does it appear like this now? All the questions were summed up in one sentence. He looked at Wu Jiaowu with burning eyes, looking forward to his answer. Wu Jiaowu touched his head, his expression suddenly darkened. After a long time, he raised his eyes slightly and looked at Sasuke with a smile. Well, a child knows too much but will go bald. When you become stronger, ask me again. It's too early to tell Sasuke the truth. He still can't learn to hide himself well. At present, there are still many pairs of eyes staring at him. Danzo must also be eyeing the only remaining Uchiha. Not the time yet. His return this time was also secretly hinting to him that things might not be as bad as he imagined. As for whether he can understand, Wu Jiaowu said that it is normal for children to have trouble with teenagers. What kind of answer is that? Uchiha Sasuke said with a dissatisfied expression. Stop joking, second brother. The truth is important to me. His eyes were sharp and serious, and his black hair frowned slightly. Wu Jiaowu raised his chin and stared at him for a while. He reached out and rubbed Sasuke hard on the head. Hey, this feel is better than that of Awa next door. It's Sanwa, not Awa, okay. Ghost Lantern Yu muttered silently. Wu Jiaowu didn't wait for the opposite Sasuke to get angry, and then he said. You have no way of protecting the secrets or people you want to protect right now. Be stronger, make a promise, and when you become stronger, I will tell you everything. His expression became serious again, and his blue eyes became deep and long. Uchiha Sasuke paused, taking back what he was about to say. He stared directly at Wu Jiaowu's eyes, his eyes were full of unwillingness. Finally, he snorted coldly. You said, when I become stronger, you must tell me everything in its entirety. Wu Jiaowu nodded casually. Yes, can you still worry about the second brother? Sasuke was stunned for a moment, and the corner of his mouth twitched. It's because it's you that I'm so worried. By the way, is it okay for you to come here? Uchiha Sasuke looked slightly worried. Why didn't he come back in his original identity? He also sneaked in using the reason that the people from the outer village took the Chunin exam. Is it to avoid something? Uchiha Sasuke keenly sensed something was wrong. Hey, you don't believe me, Wu Jiaowu said confidently. You still don't know my hidden technology. You mean, the technology that I saw in less than a second? Sasuke said coldly. Ha ha ha, this is an accident, an accident. Wu Jiaowu touched the bandage and explained quite innocently. Look, Kakashi didn't even notice. His hidden technology is still very good, and it will not be easily discovered. Of course, Uchiha Sasuke is an exception. Don't make trouble, second brother. Sasuke looked at Wu Jiaowu helplessly, and his expression was filled with unconcealed worry. I said it all, children don't worry so much. Wu Jiaowu reached out to Sasuke's head again, but he was unsuccessful this time and was beaten down quickly. Second brother. Sasuke's eyes suddenly filled with a threatening look. Wu Jiaowu's expression instantly became lost, and his short white hair also dimmed. It's too much, it's so cold. I miss the obedient glutinous rice dumplings when I was a child. He squatted on the spot and kept muttering, and his expression was also very sad. After a long time, he seemed to have gained strength from an unknown place and stood up again full of energy. He looked at Sasuke, who was still waiting for an answer, and answered seriously. It doesn't matter, even if I get discovered, I can get out of my body with my strength. Also, they can't find any clues from our identity data. Every ninja would do this kind of concealment, not to mention his ninja career. The establishment of diplomatic relations between countries is far more complicated than the war between villages. Even if his identity is revealed, the third generation and Danzo can only pretend they don't know. At most, it will be shot in the dark, and nothing will be done to him on the bright side. As for whether Uchiha, who has been hidden for many years, will be exposed, Wu Jiaowu said it was impossible. Of course they have their own way to hide from the crowd. Moreover, Shisui has a lot of research on how to hide his identity and clean up traces, so it's right to leave it to him. Wu Jiaowu thought without conscience. And Uchiha Shisui, who was looking for the secret recipe for hair growth from afar, didn't know that he suddenly had another job. He's still working on the paperwork seriously. Uchiha Sasuke felt slightly relieved after hearing Wu Jiaowu's affirmative reply. Second brother, sometimes it is more reliable. If so, there shouldn't be much of a problem. However, he suddenly thought of something and looked up at Wu Jiaowu. Kakashi-sensei seems to have found something, he said hesitantly. It doesn't matter, at most it's because you know me and you have doubts. Wu Jiaowu rolled his eyes and answered briskly. That silver hair has always been so cautious and suspicious. It shouldn't be so easy to guess his identity. Wu Jiaowu thought very confidently. At the same time, Sasuke, who heard Wu Jiaowu's answer, had a little doubt in his heart. The second brother mentioned Kakashi-sensei in such a familiar tone. As if they seemed to know each other. He was still young at that time and did not know that Wu Jiaowu was once a popular Konoha person. There are quite a lot of acquaintances who know him in Konoha. His second brother's circle of friends is extensive and extensive. Right now, in his mind, only the memory of his second brother's many unreliable abuses remained in his mind. Let's go Sasuke, take us to Konoha for a good stroll. Wu Jiaowu raised a bright smile on the corner of his mouth. I don't know if the 3 color balls in Konoha are still there. I really miss it. Second brother, you still like sweets so much. Sasuke said helplessly. I don't know if you will have cavities. Hey, how could such a handsome character like me have a bug with tooth decay? Wu Jiaowu shook his head and said affirmatively. Impossible, impossible. Ah, I'm really envious, the relationship is really good. Ghost Lantern Yu from behind said calmly, grabbing the flower next to her. You seem to have exposed something. Bai glanced at the disfigured flower in her hands and lowered his eyes. What did you expose? Wei Dang Yu followed his line of sight and looked at the rather miserable flower in her hand. Haha, I'm just a little envious, only a little bit. Her somewhat guilty tone greatly reduced the authenticity of the content in her words. She also wanted to be Go-sama's brother and sister. That guy is so happy. So jealous. She seemed to fade into a background board in an instant. Wu Jiaowu walked on the familiar street and kept looking at the surrounding scenery. It really hasn't changed much. Suddenly, his footsteps stopped. South Street Dim Sum Shop. Sasuke, do you want a snack? His eyes suddenly lit up at the familiar sign. My treat. Familiar words and scenes suddenly reminded Sasuke of some dark history. Go in, I'll wait for you outside. He shook his head and said seriously. Ghost Lantern Yu and Bai also expressed Xie Jing's insensitivity. They are also the group of people who have been scammed. And looking at Wu Jiaowu's terrifying sugar content, I always feel a bit of a toothache. Okay. Wu Jiaowu tugged the bandage down to cover his eyes and then strode in. I hope no one is scared by him. Sasuke said silently, looking at Wu Jiaowu's back. After a long time, Wu Jiaowu walked out of the South Street dim sum shop with 3 color balls. As soon as he came out, he found that everyone was gone. Not only did Sasuke not wait for him at the door, Shiro and Kazuki also disappeared. What are they all doing? Wu Jiaowu raised his chin and thought doubtfully. The man in black clothes with a pattern on his face picked up a child with one hand and said playfully. Before the annoying guys come, let's play with you. Let go. The child continued to struggle. It's very exciting, stinky boy. He grabbed the child's collar tightly, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Asshole. Seeing this scene, Naruto instantly clenched his fists and rushed up. There seemed to be a fiery flame burning in his eyes. The fool. Drop Konohamaru. The man in black glanced at him lightly, not caring. Is this the level that Konoha Genin has? So weak. His right hand flicked up slightly, and countless filaments moved with it. Naruto on the opposite side seemed to be disturbed by something at the moment. He stopped abruptly and fell heavily to the ground. Konoha's Genin is very weak. The man in black sighed boringly. Konoha's ninja level is only like this now. It's still the strongest ninja village. Gee, this level. Naruto, who had fallen, stood up again, staring at the man in black without flinching. Hey, if you don't let go, I'll never let you go, idiot. The blonde hair seemed to feel his anger explode slightly. You're an idiot, what are you inciting your opponent to do? Little Sakura on the side quickly stopped him and said helplessly. Looking at the still-spirited Naruto in front of him, the man in black couldn't help thinking of his younger brother, Gaara. It's just as irritating. Then he came back to his senses and said something vague to Naruto. I hate stinky broths so much. Also, he is obviously younger than me and so arrogant. I really want someone to destroy him. Naruto and little Sakura on the opposite side clearly misunderstood his words. They looked nervously at the man in black together. What is he going to do? He's not going to hurt Konohamaru. Alas, the yellow-haired girl next to the man in black sighed helplessly. I don't care. The man in black looked at the child in his hand and said indifferently. Get rid of this stinky kid first, then the kid over there. Right now. Brush. Suddenly there was a small sound in the air. A stone slid across the sky and hit the right arm of the man in black accurately. His arms went numb, and his fingers suddenly lost strength. The kid who was caught immediately fell to the ground. The people present followed the stone and looked over. Sasuke was half-seated on the tree, throwing stones up and down with his left hand. What are you doing in someone else's village? Go away. He looked at the crowd and loosened his left hand slightly. The stone in his hand instantly turned into powder and fell with the wind. At the same time, Wu Jiaowu was also hiding in this tree, and he looked at the scene in front of him and sighed silently. Question mark. Yo, not bad, quite handsome. I said where have you all gone? They all came to join in the fun. He not only found Sasuke who shot at this time, but also saw the ghost lights and the other guy who were watching the show. 4 wins. The man in black looked at Sasuke in the tree who disrupted his plan, his face suddenly darkened. Hey, get out of here, kid. I hate you the most who can only play tricks on a kid like you. The voice just fell. The man in black took off the items behind him and stood on the ground. Hey, are you going to use a crow? His movements quickly aroused the vigilance of the girl next to him. Kankuro, stop. The guy who loses the face of the village. While they were arguing, a voice suddenly sounded. The boy with the sloping gourd stood upside down on the tree trunk that Sasuke had just leaned against. The others looked at his mysterious appearance with a flash of surprise in their eyes. Gaara. Kankuro looked flustered and did not continue to speak. Sasuke's face darkened and his expression sharpened. When did this guy appear by my side? As fast as Kakashi. You're the one who will only embarrass the village. Why do you think we came all the way to Konoha? Gaara folded her arms and looked at everyone coldly. He did not rely on any means, his feet firmly stepped on the branches of the big tree, and he stood upside down in the air. Listen to me, Gaara, Kankuro explained in a timid voice, extending his hand. It was these guys who came to make trouble first. Gaara looked at Kankuro below with inorganic eyes, interrupting him with a cold expression. To shut up. Kill you. There seemed to be an unconscious murderous aura still lingering in his tone. Okay, so dangerous. Looking into his eyes with no human emotion at all, Kankuro stammered. I know, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. The yellow-haired girl next to him also began to look nervously at Gaara at the moment. This guy, but don't let anything happen, she thought to herself. At the same time, Gaara turned her head to look at Sasuke and the others, her beastly eyes still unwavering. I'm so sorry, he said coldly. Sasuke, who was separated by a tree, lowered his eyes and watched Gaara's movements vigilantly behind him. This guy's eyes are really annoying. When did he come just now? He didn't even notice it at all. I am still too weak. How can it be so weak? Sasuke thought reluctantly, and this frustration quickly reminded him of the previous conversation. His eyes deepened. Gaara, who was standing upside down, also noticed Sasuke's eyes. To be able to hit Kankuro's hand with a stone so easily. This guy is awesome. Konoha also finally figured out a decent ninja. However, this level is still far off. Gaara thought nonchalantly. At this time, the world suddenly became eerily quiet. The wind and the birds chirping came to an abrupt end. The atmosphere began to condense. Everyone was wary of each other. Yo, what are you all doing? A slightly smiling voice suddenly broke the silence of the scene. Wu Jiaowu also emerged from this tree. He reached out his hand to greet him warmly, with a bright smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. The black robe also revealed the bandaged arms, and the short white hair also shone in the sunlight. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Seeing this sudden bandaged monster, everyone froze inwardly, and their expressions also revealed a little shock. Kankuro watched this scene in disbelief, and the silk thread in his hand fell to the ground unconsciously. When did he come? How come? How could he quietly appear behind Gaara? What surprised Kankuro the most was not the sudden arrival of Wu Jiaowu, but the fact that he could quietly appear behind Gaara. This is simply incredible. Gaara, there's no way he could get people so close to him. The only possibility is that he didn't notice it at all. Is it possible? He's the Jinchuriki of One Tail, the most powerful ninja of them all. How can that be? On the tree, Gaara heard Wu Jiaowu's abrupt voice, and her pupils suddenly shrank into needles. There was a flash of shock in his inorganic eyes. The fine sand also spread with his emotions, lingering around him. When is it? How could he not find out at all? Such a close distance. Gaara immediately watched Wu Jiaowu behind him vigilantly. The air in his body also changed in an instant. At this time, Wu Jiaowu hangs upside down on the branch above Gaara. The distance between them is quite close. It's just one wrong position. He swayed his figure loosely, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. It's that bandage freak, Naruto suddenly exclaimed. Ch. That's how awesome he is. It's the first time he's ever seen that guy from Sasuke fail. Of course, Sasuke, who was separated by a tree, was not as unreliable as Naruto. The corners of his mouth pursed slightly but suddenly relaxed. When did this guy come? He didn't find it. Completely silent like the red-haired ninja. Are they all that strong? Obviously only 2 years old, but what did he do to get revenge on that man? Thinking of this, Sasuke's face suddenly darkened again. Hey, when did you come? Gaara said nonchalantly. The red hair showed complete dullness and coldness on his body. Me. Wu Jiaowu raised his chin and thought seriously. I do the math. I've been here a long time. Well, it's been here since before Sasuke was handsome. The voice fell. Naruto's eyes on the opposite side suddenly lit up. He said excitedly as if he had met a bosom friend. Real, you think so too? I'll just say, that kid Sasuke is always there to be handsome. It's too much. Wu Jiaowu on the tree nodded and said cooperatively. Yes. Naruto's blue eyes lit up slightly. For a while, the two looked at each other with tears as if they were brothers who had been separated for many years. The atmosphere of tacit understanding also unfolds here. Sasuke twitched the corners of his mouth and reached for his forehead. This moment, he really didn't want to admit that this person with the same style as Naruto turned out to be his brother. Is it the second brother of the Naruto version? It's terrifying. He shook the image from his mind vigorously. The little Sakura on the side looked strangely at the scene in front of him, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Haha, it's really tacit. In this regard, also great. At the same time, Gaara looked at Wu Jiaowu, who had already ignored him, frowned, and the movement of the sand all over his body began to chaotic. Are you ignoring me? Ignore. Wu Jiaowu pondered for a while, then looked at Gaara very seriously. Not really, I just think. Gaara didn't say anything. He looked at Wu Jiaowu suspiciously, waiting for his answer. Just think what's wrong. Wu Jiaowu folded his hands together, and swayed up and down around the branches under his feet. I just think it's not good to have so many people in one tree. He said solemnly, holding his chin. Question mark. What does he mean by this? Not only Gaara looked at him in confusion, but everyone else's faces also showed puzzled expressions. Why do you suddenly say that? Where is the problem? At this moment, everyone on the scene was lost in confusion. However, only 2 people understood what he meant. With Wu Jiaowu's voice falling, suddenly there was a rustling sound from the tree. 2 figures appeared out of thin air. These 2 people are the long-disappeared ghosts Kazuki and Shiro. Hi, Ghost Lantern Yu hung upside down under the tree trunk and greeted everyone. Bai didn't say anything but showed his figure silently. For a while, the originally spacious tree suddenly became very crowded. 4 people, lined up, hang upside down on the branches of the big tree in turn. Ah, so that's what Mr. Bandage said. Naruto sighed as he looked at the four who were hanging like candied haws. Hearing this, little Sakura's mouth twitched slightly, and she quickly grabbed Naruto to stop his next words. Please, even so, look at the occasion anyway. Is this the time to speak? She easily guessed the image in Naruto's mind. Because she thought so too. However, Naruto, you idiot. Shouldn't we pay attention to their strength first? It could appear so silently. These three are really not easy. Kankuro and Temari, the yellow-haired girl next to him, thought so too. Amazing. It does the best job of hiding the breath. And it looks very easy and handy. Which village? Why haven't I heard it before? Kankuro and Temari fell silent as they looked at the forehead protector with the odd three-circle logo on their heads. It's wired. Such a sign seems to have never been seen before. Which village's forehead protector is this? At the same time, Sasuke on the tree seemed to have a pound sign on his forehead, and his face suddenly sank. Should I be glad I was sitting? However, I didn't expect them to be here too. Are they all that strong? It doesn't look too big, but they are all so strong. Why are you so weak? No wonder no one trusts themselves. I am so weak now. At this time, Gaara obviously does not have their humorous selves. He looked at the two people who suddenly appeared with a cold expression on his face. Is that the case again? Like the bandaged geek, these two people hide their breath very well. Just didn't find it at all. Ah, it seems that this Chunin exam was not in vain. Let him crush them one by one. Crack clap. Just when everyone was immersed in their own thoughts, a small voice suddenly came. Ah, that's it. I would say there are too many people. Wu Jiaowu blinked and quickly realized what was going on. He jumped lightly on the ground, and his short white hair rose with the wind with a nice arc. As he landed, the huge tree fell suddenly. Dust and chaotic leaves rose in an instant. Others in the tree hurriedly searched for a safe landing. They landed in a hurry, and the team on the tree was officially disbanded. Ghost Lantern Yu and Bai were okay. As soon as Wu Jiaowu spoke up, they had a tacit understanding that something was wrong. The two of them dodged fairly easily. However, Gaara and Sasuke, who were completely distracted from the soles of their feet, looked a little hurried and embarrassed. Ha ha ha. Naruto pointed at them and said to little Sakura. Little Sakura, look at them, it's so funny. It's all down. Little Sakura is about to be turned into a background board at this moment. How could she have such a teammate? Too unreliable. Naruto's laughter caught the eyes of both Temari and Kankuro next to him. They looked at Naruto and twitched the corners of his mouth indifferently. There was some disgust in his eyes. He smiled too clearly. How can someone be so stupid? At the same time, Wu Jiaowu folded his hands together and laughed mercilessly. Ha 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 ha, you are too embarrassed. What a shame. Little Sakura, Kankuro and Temari stared blankly at Wu Jiaowu, who was a little mysterious before. After a long time, they recovered. There really is such a person. Master Wu, are you really okay with this? Gui Deng Yu said silently as she looked at Wu Jiaowu. She now seriously suspects that the sudden collapse of the tree has nothing to do with the person in front of her. How could it be so coincidental? Wu Jiaowu stretched out his bandaged hand and shook it. I didn't do it this time, it's because you guys are too heavy. His voice was brisk and sincere, causing the ghost lights Yu on the side to instantly have doubts. How is it possible? How fat can I be a girl? Gui Deng Yu said quietly. Ah, that's Bai. Wu Jiaowu pointed at Bai next to him without any burden. Ghost Lantern Yu followed Wu Jiaowu's line of sight to look at Bai next to her. Bai looked at these two people calmly. The look on his face didn't waver at all. Ghost Lantern Yu's eyes moved slowly, falling on her waist that was thinner than her, and fell silent. In the end, their eyes skipped Sasuke next to him and fell on Gaara. Seeing Gaara carrying a huge gourd, the two seemed to have an explanation. Wu Jiaowu held his chin and nodded earnestly, then he spoke to Gaara briskly. It turns out that you are the culprit. Gaara on the opposite side ignored his boring ridicule, just frowned, staring at Wu Jiaowu like a beast's eyes coldly. Murderous intent also seemed to penetrate through this biting gaze. Wu Jiaowu still stood there casually, with short white hair shining in the sun, as if he didn't feel Gaara's murderous aura at all. Kankuro and Tamari looked at the man in front of them in surprise. His courage is really big, but he is unmoved by Gaara's murderous aura. What an oddity. However, he shouldn't have done that. Getting Gaara's attention is not a good thing. Facing the beasts also requires extraordinary strength. Otherwise, you may get burned. Although he is really impeccable in terms of hiding his breath. But this time his opponent is not someone else, but Gaara, who has one tail and may break out at any time. At this moment, there was another person who didn't feel the strange atmosphere. That's Naruto, not far away. His azure blue eyes lit up slightly, as if he understood something. He turned around and said loudly to Wu Jiaowu. "Ah, Mr. Bandage, do you mean that the person carrying the big gourd is so heavy that it crushed the tree?" Silence, silence. The scene suddenly fell into silence. The sound of the wind and the chirping of birds seemed to cease abruptly. Wu Jiaowu blinked, and the corner of his mouth raised a brilliant arc. He folded his hands together, pretending to be deep. "Little devil, you're not bad, you guessed it so quickly. I didn't expect Konoha to have such a smart existence as you." Although the bandage blocked most of his expression, everyone could still see the surprise that he had found a bosom friend. "Ah, what the hell? By the way, what's so surprising about this? And are you sure your guess is reliable? Why does your companion still believe it? Ninjas can stand upside down on the tree, 410, by attaching to the soles of their feet through chakra. What does it have to do with weight? How did you believe it? Why does this guy feel less reliable than you?" Little Sakura said to Naruto secretly. "I'm not reliable." Naruto suddenly dimmed after hearing the words of Little Sakura. Little Sakura thought he was unreliable. There was resentment all over him. Sasuke on the side held his forehead with one hand and kept away from the Wu Jiaowu trio. The second brother's character really hasn't changed at all. Exactly the same as the original. Gaara ignored Wu Jiaowu's ridicule. He looked straight at Wu Jiaowu opposite. "I'm Gaara from Sand Falls. I'm a little interested in you. What's your name?" Throwing away those unreliable behaviors, Gaara felt that he should be strong. Only the strong are qualified to let him remember his name. Then he will defeat these strong men one by one. "Name," Wu Jiaowu said deeply with his hands folded. "I'm Wu Jiaowu from Nikolaski, the Dark Wing. ? What is this name?" The people present were speechless when they looked at the bandage freak. How did his teammates tolerate him alive? After seeing Wu Jiaowu reciting the long name, Guideng Yu and Bai also looked at each other tacitly. They looked at the others lightly, and said calmly in a stick-reading tone. "I'm Flower Moon from Nikolaski, Darkwing. I am the White Man from Nikolaski, the Dark Wing." They read a long list of names without emotion, as if they were going through a predetermined process. Then there was an eerie silence and no more words were spoken. "AAA. The people in your ninja village are quite humorous." The crowd was powerless to complain. However, after this interruption, everyone invariably forgot their doubts about their strength just now. "Wu Jiaowu. I remember." Gaara grabbed the name accurately. He glanced at Wu Jiaowu and turned to walk towards Kankuro and Tamari. "Go, we're not here to play." Kankuro nodded to Gaara, who was walking ahead. "I know." The three figures suddenly disappeared in front of everyone. "Have we been ignored?" Hua Yu said suspiciously. "Didn't even look at it. Is this bad?" Bai calmly asked back. "That's not it," Hua Yu replied. "She has no interest in this kind of people's attention at all, so she should leave it to the wicked Lord Wu." After the Gaara trio left, Wu Jiaowu looked up at the trees above. The pale blue eyes under the bandages flashed an inexplicable light. "It's really lush, it's just carrying too many burdens that shouldn't be there." I don't know if the three ninjas who eavesdropped above are still satisfied. "Let's go." Sasuke took 2 steps forward and said to Wu Jiaowu. Okay. Wu Jiaowu nodded boredly. When the 4 of them were about to leave, little Sakura suddenly stopped Sasuke. "Sasuke, won't you come with us?" she replied with some trepidation. "Didn't we say we'd go to training together? Does Sasuke know them well? Why are we leaving so soon?" Uchiha Sasuke was slightly taken aback when he heard the words. "Training, oops, I was so excited to see my second brother before that I forgot about it." He looked up at the little Sakura and Naruto who were waiting for him not far away, then looked back at the second brother who was sloppy, and finally made a decision. "Help us train," he said firmly to Wu Jiaowu. Originally, he wanted to be called second brother just now, but suddenly remembered that this guy was still hiding his identity. If so, let's do it first. No, it's too much trouble. Wu Jiaowu slapped him and refused lazily. I remember someone disappeared for many years and then. Sasuke said faintly, staring into Wu Jiaowu's eyes. Okay. Wu Jiaowu touched the bandage and felt a sudden pain in his conscience. The kid is really troublesome now. His strength is not bad. If he helps with training, we should be able to improve a lot. Sasuke said something he regretted. Really? Great, Naruto said happily. Mr. Bandage, we can train together. Thank you very much, little Sakura said hesitantly. However, he is also a participant in the Chunin exam, is it alright to just teach us? And does it matter that he is from the outer village? She thought a lot for a moment, and finally looked at Sasuke beside her. Being able to train with Sasuke, she can do anything. Little Sakura thought excitedly, her eyes lit up. Let's go like this, Wu Jiaowu said casually, raising his white hair. A group of people left here in a big way. After a long time. In this quiet place, 3 figures suddenly appeared. They hid in the tree and looked at the backs of Wu Jiaowu and his group. What do you think? A ninja sitting on a tree said slowly. Although I don't think it's a big deal. The other person shook his head. Konoha's black-haired ninja and Sand Shinobi's backguard, those 2 people should pay attention. Others have nothing to focus on. Where are the 3 guys from the village I don't know from just now? The sitting ninja continued to ask. The ability to hide aura is not bad, but I can't see it for the time being. Another ninja continued. But it doesn't look like it's too powerful. Don't be careless, the sitting ninja said coldly. Right, I heard. Leaves, among the trees. Wu Jiaowu's small class officially started. What can I teach you? Wu Jiaowu held his chin and thought carefully. By the way, do you know your chakra attributes? Does chakra still have attributes? Naruto asked suspiciously. Why is he completely unimpressed? Did you slip out of class again, Naruto? Little Sakura said in a deep tone. Ha ha ha, Naruto scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. I can't blame him, it's too sleepy. Wu Jiaowu continued with Heish. A chakra is a strangely shaped mass of energy, usually this kind of thing has more or less strange properties. Well then, let's test the basic properties first. By the way, how does the test come? He remembered that it seemed to be a piece of paper and a water cup. What's coming? In the end, Wu Jiaowu crossed his hands to determine the plan. He took out a glass of water out of nowhere, then grabbed a leaf and put it into it. Just test it. Everyone came over and released chakra against this glass of water. The trio on the opposite side looked at Wu Jiaowu in confusion. What test method is this? I don't seem to have heard of it. I'll go first. Naruto was the first to test. Is it enough to just release chakra? He asked suspiciously. Yes, just release chakra. Wu Jiaowu nodded. Naruto put his hand over the water glass and started to release chakra. Suddenly, the leaves in the cup began to swirl vigorously. What does this mean? Naruto let go of his hand and asked Wu Jiaowu. Wu Jiaowu held his chin and thought hard for a while. Ah, the constant movement of the blades means you're an operating system, wind. He remembered saying that when he was tested. The wind attribute of the operating system. Naruto nodded excitedly. It turns out that I am of the wind attribute. Sasuke, who was waiting for the test, always felt that something was wrong. Second brother, he should be reliable this time, right? Sasuke also walked over, clenching the water glass in both hands to release chakra. A violent spray suddenly occurred in the water cup, and the spray quickly splashed outside the cup body. Sasuke put down the water glass and looked at Wu Jiaowu suspiciously. Like this, you should be the thunder attribute of the trait system. Wu Jiaowu said seriously. Thunder attribute. Sasuke lowered his eyes slightly. That's it. Wu Jiaowu raised his chest confidently and looked at Sasuke. It seems that he has a talent for teaching and educating people. At this moment, Kakashi, who was hidden deep in the woods, couldn't sit still. What the hell are these? Traits, operating system. Never heard of it. What the hell is he teaching? Kakashi felt the familiar silence and anger inexplicably. How this suspicious alien ninja feels like he's seen it somewhere. He suddenly jumped from the treetops a few times and fell to the ground. He hung his eyes and asked Wu Jiaowu quietly. Well, is this teaching? How come I haven't heard of these categories? I remember that these things have not yet appeared in the ninja attribute classification of the 5 major countries. Recently newly created. Wu Jiaowu touched the bandage and his heart suddenly froze. Very troublesome. How did this guy come here? Is there really no such thing? He remembers the attack method and energy system of this and that. Are you saying it's been recorded again? Ah, it's not a big problem, it's the same way. This is my latest method for testing energy, and it's the same thing. Wu Jiaowu looked at Kakashi calmly, with a bright smile on his face. It's the same ghost, Kakashi said weakly. You must have forgotten to fool around. Could you admit that you can die? After speaking, he was also surprised by his familiar tone. What happened? Does he know the bandage man well? Wu Jiaowu laughed when he saw Kakashi's powerless rant. Hey, you just came out, didn't you steal your teacher before? He said with a smile. Steal what teacher? Tell me what you can learn. Kakashi asked with a deadly soul. This is too heartbreaking, Wu Jiaowu said dissatisfiedly. The guy who misunderstands his children should take a good heart, Kakashi said coldly. That's too much, Wu Jiaowu moaned helplessly while holding his chin. Over the years, Kakashi has become more and more vicious. Don't listen to him, I'll tell you again, Kakashi said to Naruto, Sasuke, and little Sakura. He didn't pay any attention to the attitude in his tone. Kakashi-sensei also knows that bandage freak. It doesn't look like an existence that can be friends. Little Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto suddenly felt puzzled. There are basically only 5 species of chakra's nature transformation. They are fire, wind, earth, wood, and fire. Basically everyone has a chakra of one of these properties. For example, the Uchiha clan is a clan with the nature of fire. So good at fire style ninjutsu. Wind is wind style, thunder is lightning style. For example, Chidori is a kind of lightning style. After Kakashi explained it, he was ready to test them again. He took out a few pieces of paper and said mysteriously, this time I will use this for testing. Paper. Didn't expect to use paper instead of cups. Kakashi looked at the 3 in front of him and then took out a piece of paper to experiment with. He cast chakra lightly, and the paper in his hand wrinkled instantly, and then he continued, if it's Rei's attribute paper, it will wrinkle. The wind will cut. The fire will burn. The water gets wet. The soil will be destroyed. This is a sensing paper that is very sensitive to chakra, and it is made of special trees that have been bred by absorbing chakra. Inject your own chakra into this piece of paper to know your own nature. Now Naruto, come and demonstrate. Naruto, who heard the name, came over quickly. He results in the test paper and then forcefully enters chakra. Violent chakra instantly cut the sensor paper in half. This is. Naruto looked at the paper in his hand thoughtfully. It seems that you are of the wind attribute. Kakashi paused and continued. By the way, is it such a coincidence? It's just the wind property. Is this outer village ninja right? Coincidence right? Kakashi looked at the fallen leaves in the water glass thoughtfully. After all, this kind of testing is very strange. Wu Jiaowu rested his chin and watched Kakashi test Sasuke. The result was not what he expected, but it was still a thunder attribute. The hanging eyes of Kakashi on the opposite side opened slightly. Is it really a thunder attribute? Is it a coincidence? It is well known that the Uchiha clan is a clan with the nature of fire, so even if it is speculated, there is a high probability that it will move closer to the attribute of fire. But the ninja directly guessed Sasuke's true attributes. Kakashi paused and thought puzzled. How is it? The corner of Wu Jiaowu's mouth instantly raised a proud smile, his short white hair gleaming in the sun. Although his test method has a little change. But the results are quite reliable. Kakashi should not care about this little process. Overall, the quality of teaching is still online. However, isn't the trait system and the operation system really a special form of expression of chakra energy? How could he remember such a thing? Wu Jiaowu thought strangely. Sasuke looked at Wu Jiaowu not far away and sighed silently. Fortunately, he rounded it. Needless to say, the second brother must have been talking nonsense just now. How did he manage to make things up in a serious manner? I didn't expect you to be so enthusiastic among the candidates taking the Chunin exam. Kakashi said calmly. Strangeness. Are current students so enthusiastic? Came to help a competitor. Or is his purpose not simple? Kakashi's eyes swept lightly to Sasuke and Naruto beside him. Uchiha's last bloodline and Nine-Tails Jinchuriki are really easy to spot. Is it for this? He guessed silently. The next day. Konoha examination room. Wu Jiaowu took the 3 color balls and the ghost lamp Yu and Bai slowly to the examination room. He left in a hurry yesterday to dispel Kakashi's doubts. I don't know how they train. Here, Wu Jiaowu slowly opened the door of the examination room. As soon as the door opened, countless people's eyes came over. There are quite a lot of people. A smile flashed across Wu Jiaowu's blue eyes under the bandages. It seems that everyone is here. Mr. Bandage, Naruto greeted warmly. Ah, Sasuke on the side also noticed Wu Jiaowu. He stared at Wu Jiaowu who had just come and didn't say anything, he just laughed coldly. Obviously still angry about Wu Jiaowu leaving without saying goodbye yesterday. Who is that? Ino asked little Sakura curiously. These people who just came are too strange. The mysterious man in black robe bandage. Shark-toothed lowly girl, only the person next to him is normal. It's just too beautiful. The mysterious man in the bandage just now seems to be Sasuke's new friend. Little Sakura explained silently. The rest I don't know. What? Sasuke's friend? A look of disbelief flashed across Ino's face. After all, the two are so different in style. It seems unreliable. Shikamaru next to Ino also noticed the 3. He held his chin in confusion. What's wrong, Shikamaru? Choji quickly noticed something was wrong with Shikamaru. Nothing, Shikamaru replied casually, looking away. However, he just seemed to sense a hint of danger in these 3 people. It always feels a little strange. The Wu Jiaowu trio followed everyone's gaze and walked to Naruto's side. Long time no see, Wu Jiaowu said casually in the name of Heish. His sloppy attitude attracted the onlookers of the people next to him. Who is this person? I don't pay too much attention to this exam. It looks strange, maybe it's from some unknown village. Let's go through the motions, it seems that he gave up himself. I don't know, nobody needs us to care. For a while, everyone's eyes were cast here. It's really troublesome. The innocent Shikamaru glanced at Wu Jiaowu and sighed. He didn't want to attract so many people's attention. Li and Tian, who were also standing on the side, were not suitable for everyone's attention. Who is this guy? How did Naruto and the others know such a strange Somura ninja? Little Sakura also sighed helplessly while holding her forehead. Kakashi-sensei, this person is really troublesome. Thinking of Kakashi-sensei's exhortation yesterday, her eyes suddenly sharpened. Yesterday, little Sakura, do you know who those 3 people are? Kakashi-sensei asked deeply. What happened to Kakashi-sensei? Little Sakura asked suspiciously. All I know is that the white-haired one seems to be Sasuke's newest friend. A new friend, Kakashi murmured. It's very likely that there's something wrong with those 3. They're all from a ninja called Sweet Ninja Village. The specific situation of Tianren village is not very clear, only that it is a village that has just been established. But I heard that most of the people in this village are ninjas with heinous crimes, and they are usually unscrupulous in order to complete their tasks. And the 3 people just now are quite famous in the black market. Although the level of completion of the task is not high, their methods are quite bad. It is said that they have also kidnapped a princess from a country. Anyway, their approach to Naruto and Sasuke may have other purposes. However, I can't confirm this, so I need you to help me watch them. Little Sakura's pupils suddenly tightened, and a look of shock flashed across her expression. Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei, I will definitely watch them, she replied with a serious look. Hey, you guys. The boy with white hair and glasses suddenly walked towards Naruto. It's better to be a little quieter. So cute and loud. Really, it's not hiking. His eyes swept across Wu Jiaowu's group again. And anyway, you have to cheer up no matter what the exam is. How did these 3 non-Konoha ninjas get together with the person Orochimaru-sama wanted to observe? Coincidence, but it doesn't matter, it's just some little scumbags. The corners of his mouth raised in an unattractive arc. I'm already very motivated, Wu Jiaowu said nonchalantly with the 3-color ball in his mouth. It turned out to be the master of the dream, Yakushi Kabuto. That's right, he seems to have appeared at this time in the original book. Who are you? Why do you say such a great thing? Ino interrupted the conversation with a dissatisfied expression. I'm Yakushi Kabuto. The white-haired boy with glasses replied earnestly. Everyone is very anxious before the exam, so let me remind you before you make trouble. There's no way they're new people who can't tell the difference between left and right, making people think of their former self. He watched everyone quietly imply his identity as an old man and then dominated the topic. The corner of Wu Jiaowu's mouth raised slightly when he saw this scene. As expected of a person who has been engaged in the espionage business for many years, the art of speaking has become a master. At this time, Wu Jiaowu's expression still did not fluctuate at all, and a smile slowly flashed in his eyes. Soon, as Yakushi Kabuto expected, questions were being asked. Is it Kabuto-senpai? Little Sakura glanced at him curiously. So, is this your second time participating? No, the 7th time. Yakushi Kabuto replied calmly with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Because this exam is only held twice a year, this is the 4th year. So you know a lot about exams? Little Sakura asked, blinking. It's okay too. Yakushi Kabuto smiled slightly. Ha, Kabuto-senpai is amazing. Naruto was also attracted by their conversation. But I can't get through. Shikamaru turned to Yakushi Kabuto. Is it really that difficult? Yakushi Kabuto didn't panic, he scratched his head and said as if embarrassed. And that's what it is now. It is very successful to deduce the image of a senior who has failed many times in exams. Is the Chunin exam really that difficult? Shikamaru asked in confusion. Really, it's getting more and more troublesome. Yakushi Kabuto looked at the crowd and reached out and took out a stack of cards. Then, to the lovely junior, I will tell you a little bit of information, use this forbearance card. Ninja card, little Sakura asked suspiciously. He put all the cards on the ground, and then took out one of them for everyone to unfold. Simply put, it's a card that converts information into a mark with chakra and then burns it. In order to prepare for the exam, I collected information for 4 years. Nearly 200 of these cards were all prepared. Looks like a blank sheet. To expand the information on this card, he stretched out his hand and put it on the card, and the card turned. What are you doing? Little Sakura asked curiously. Without my chakra, there's no way to see what's on the card, for example. He slowly released chakra to the card, and the card surface immediately displayed various information. Wow, that's amazing, what information is there? Little Sakura said in surprise. Yakushi Kabuto pushed his glasses and explained patiently. The total number of participants and participating countries for this Chunin exam. Then how many candidates are from each ninja village? Is there a card that records personal information in detail? Sasuke asked after hearing this. Yakushi Kabuto's eyes flashed a strange light, and then replied meaningfully. There is. Is there any guy you care about? Uchiha Sasuke briefly glanced at nearby Wu Jiaowu. Yes, he said calmly. Wu Jiaowu, who was watching Yakushi Kabuto's performance, suddenly felt a chill. He touched the bandage and thought seriously. What happened? Is it cold? So many bandages shouldn't feel cold, right? Without a clue, he continued to focus on Yakushi Kabuto. Yakushi Kabuto rearranged the card and looked at Uchiha Sasuke seriously. I have saved all the candidates' information this time. It's not very detailed, but it's more or less a little bit. Of course it also includes yours. Tell me what you know about the person you care about. No matter what it is, tell me about it, and I'll find it for you. The corners of his mouth twitched as he waited for Uchiha Sasuke's answer. Gaara by San Shinobi, and Sasuke moved his gaze to Wu Jiaowu not far away. Wu Jiaowu, the opposite Yakushi Kabuto also noticed that his gaze was too long. Who is this looking at? He followed Uchiha Sasuke's line of sight, and what caught his eye was Wu Jiaowu in a black robe. This person, Uchiha Sasuke, seems to be paying special attention to him. Is he any different? Things are getting more interesting. Yakushi Kabuto's glasses flickered eerily. At the same time, Wu Jiaowu on the opposite side also quickly discovered Yakushi Kabuto's hidden scrutiny. Although his gaze only stayed for a few seconds, he still couldn't avoid Wu Jiaowu, who had been watching him all the time. However, he didn't particularly care about it, and still maintained a sloppy attitude, as if he didn't know anything. The little Sakura nearby heard Sasuke's question, and a look of surprise flashed across his face. She didn't expect Sasuke to ask about this mysterious man in black robes. Did Sasuke find something wrong too? Thinking of this, she suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. As for Naruto, who was on the same team, because of Yakushi Kabuto's boring explanation, he has already begun to wander. Yakushi Kabuto looked back and smiled. You know the name, so it'll be very fast. That's it. He stretched out his hand and drew out 2 information cards and put them in front of him. Show me, Sasuke said, staring at Yakushi Kabuto. Yakushi Kabuto put the card on the ground. Gaara of this sand waterfall. The mission experience is C level 8 times and B level 1 time. It's amazing, Genin has performed B level missions. Because it is a ninja from another country and a newcomer, there is no more information. But all missions came back unscathed. The voice fell. Everyone was very surprised. Genin took part in the B level mission and was unscathed, which is amazing. Who is this guy? What about the other person? At this time, Sasuke didn't pay attention to Gaara's record. He was more curious about the information about his second brother in recent years. Another one. Yakushi Kabuto placed the other card on the ground and looked closely. Wu Jiaowu, the ninja of Sweet Ninja Village. This ninja village. His voice was a little surprised. Mr. Bandage, so your ninja village is called Sweet Ninja Village. Naruto suddenly shouted loudly. Immediately, everyone looked at Wu Jiaowu, who was wearing a black robe beside him. Is he Wu Jiaowu? What a strange name for ninja village. Sasuke asked the question regardless of everyone's reaction. What's wrong? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.